begins to set on another spring training. The AL East is taking on a new look. The Boston Red Sox imported a bunch of old school types like Mike Napoli and Shane Victorino to better compete with the young, brash Baltimore Orioles. 93 wins in a playoff team last year. How high can the Birds fly in 2013? The Red Sox and Orioles game is next. Welcome, everyone, to Major League Baseball Spring Training on ESPN. It's presented by Head and Shoulders. And Blue Skies, welcome the Red Sox to Oriole Country. Ed Smith Stadium in Sarasota, Florida, for the Orioles and Red Sox. American League East showdown. Both of these teams will open up against American League East teams. The Red Sox start the season against the Yankees and the Orioles against the Rays. And welcome. This is a basketball state all of a sudden. 3 teams in the Sweet 16. And I'm here with the father of Shane Larkin, Barry Larkin. He, of course, Shane plays for Miami. What a thrill that must have been. You were at the game last night.
I was there last night. It has been a fantastic ride. We're going to D.C. Let's keep it rolling.
All right, Sweet 16 there. And, of course, the Miami Heat with their 26-game win streak. But it's all about baseball for these fans and for us today. And for the Red Sox and John Farrell, the new manager, it's really about changing the entire culture off of what was such a disappointing season last season.
You're absolutely right. And how do you do that? Well, you reach out to your best player, and that's Dustin Pedroia. You get him on board. He feels good about it. But you also bring in a few other guys, and they brought in some personality. Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, also Mike Napoli. Mike Napoli really gets it done in Fenway, so they feel good about their chances.
And one of the unique stories has been Jackie Bradley Jr. He is here. Will he make the team? We'll discuss that during our telecast as he gets into the game in late innings. For the Orioles, 93 wins off a season prior to that in which they were what the Red Sox were last year. So how does Buck Showalter continue this upward trend?
Well, you know, these guys know exactly what they have to do. They have to pay attention to detail. 29 and 9 and 1-run ball games last year. This team is all about the small things. How do you do that? You get pitchers that pitch to contact, and you got defensive guys that can catch the ball. You got Matt Wieters, a Gold Glover. You got J.J. Hardy, a Gold Glover, or Jones out in the outfield, a Gold Glover, and Roberts at second base. If he can stay healthy, another potential Gold Glove guy.
There is a lot of gold. They were a playoff team last year. Will they head this year? And one of the great stories, T.J. McFarland is on the mound for the Orioles, pitching for his job. We'll see how it unfolds with the Red Sox and Orioles next. This telecast of MLB Spring Training on ESPN is presented by Head and Shoulders for Men. Live flake-free. And for more around the majors, we send it back to our Baseball Tonight studios, John Shambi and Kurt Schilling.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. Welcome inside our studios. John and Kurt with you. We'll be here all game long. Some news nuggets to get to. Buster Olney reporting right now that the Yankees and Vernon Wells are close to a deal. Now, Wells, the last couple of years, really struggled. He's made a lot of outs. He's owed a lot of money. Kurt Schilling, your thoughts on the move?
Well, the second lowest on-base percentage in baseball since 2011. When he was going good, he was a great player. I keep thinking about Ichiro. You think about what happened to Ichiro, where he was headed before he came to New York, what he did after he got there. One thing you know for sure, he's not going to do mediocre. He's either going to come back and be a great player or he's going to get buried by the New York fans quickly.
A guy who still defends fairly well. Meanwhile, reports are Kyle Loesch has signed with the Brewers. You've talked about that before. Thoughts?
Well, this is a perfect fit. This is the thing that gets Milwaukee into the potential postseason picture in a much more clear fashion in the Central, because I think the Reds are going to have to contend with them now with Gallardo and Loesch at the top of that rotation.
We'll have updates all game long. Let's send it back out to Sarasota. Carl Ravitch and the fellas.
And we're back. The Red Sox and the Orioles at Ed Smith Stadium in Sarasota, Florida. This is the fifth meeting between these teams this spring. It'll be the last, and the Orioles have won 3. There's been a tie, so the Red Sox haven't beaten Baltimore yet. And some interesting news there, Major League Baseball, which Barry and I will talk about. Kyle Loesch in Milwaukee, a big difference maker, and Vernon Wells to the Yankees. The Red Sox lineup today has Shane Victorino at the top, Johnny Gomes, Mike Napoli hitting third, Will Middlebrooks, who's had a very good spring batting cleanup.
And Shane Victorino has struggled a little bit this spring, but he brings a lot of speed and a lot of different options. Certainly can put the ball in play. Mike Napoli has the 3rd highest slugging percentage in the history of Fenway Park. And oh, by the way, 306 career average. So he's going to be very comfortable hitting there.
Well, if you can't stop him, have him join you, and that's what they did. Pitching for the Orioles today, T.J. McFarland, who was selected 23rd in the Rule 5 draft. So the Orioles have to make a decision on McFarland.
You know, and this is the time of year or time of spring training where that is exactly what's going on right now. There are plenty of guys on both sides of the ball that are out there battling for their jobs for this year being in the big leagues.
Victorino fouls that one off, talking with Buck Showalter. The Orioles organization is very aware that if they don't keep McFarland on the Major League roster, and that's what you have to do with the Rule 5 pick, he will be selected very quickly. And the Indians, who let him go in that Rule 5 draft, will not get a chance to get him back. There's about 27 other teams that have to pick before they do.
You get a lefty that's got some movement. He's got a loose arm. Certainly doesn't have a lot of experience yet, but a lefty nonetheless. That's a premium in this league, and certainly if they decide not to keep him, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people waiting for him.
Everyday lineup in the field for the Orioles. 2-2. Victorino spoils that one. Shane, of course, played in the World Baseball Classic, Barry, which you managed in. What was that experience like?
It was good. It wasn't good when we lost the 3 games, but it certainly was fun. No, we had a really good time. I managed Brazil. We went to Japan. We had a chance in all 3 ball games. We had Japan beat late in the ball game.
Swing and a miss by Victorino, so a good start for McFarland.
Then we played a very good Cuba team and got beat by China in our last game. Lost all the games late in the ball game. Premium on that left-handed relief pitching.
Are you Brazilian?
I am not.
No. But you're a Hall of Famer.
Only when we win.
And now Johnny Gomes, one of the new imports the Red Sox have brought. They have, in fact, the top 3 in the order, all new to the team, and Victorino, Gomes, Napoli.
Johnny Gomes is a left-handed pitcher hitting specialist. That's what they brought this guy in. This guy has the ability to put the ball out of the ballpark, but loves hitting left-handed pitching.
You watch McFarland pitch. He will throw the ball down. He is a command and control pitcher, sinker ball pitcher, and this is a good day to be one of those. The wind is blowing out towards left center field.
Another thing that Johnny Gomes brings to this ball club is, like I said in the open, personality. I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him in Cincinnati. And everywhere he goes, he has an incredible story. If you have a chance to Google this guy or read up on his life, he's had a long road to get here, but he is a very positive guy and a very positive influence in the clubhouse.
He's been in a number of organizations and has had some good managers to play under. Dusty Baker in Cincinnati and Joe Madden And now John Farrell. 3-0 pitch is in there for a called strike. Gomes got involved with the Little League baseball team from California, Petaluma, last year. He's a community-driven player. And as you mentioned, great clubhouse presence. This one is lifted to right field. Ryan Flaherty is out there, and he'll make the catch. Hope to hear from Nick Markakis, the everyday right fielder, during our telecast today. Flaherty was a Rule 5 pick 2 years ago, made the team, so he's now property of the Orioles. And a nice start for T.J. McFarland. What do you think that's like, Barry? Because you never probably had to do that.
No, didn't have to pitch for my life, or play for my life. But certainly you can see what his approach is. 2 at-bats, 2 balls to the right side of the field. Certainly staying away from contact, but throwing enough pitches inside in order to have those guys respect the ball in the inner half.
Mike Napoli, the designated hitter today, and likely to start the season given David Ortiz's health issues. He's dealing with some heel problems, not Achilles problems anymore. Now it's heel problems, according to John Farrell. Napoli fouls that one off. When the Red Sox acquired Napoli, a lot of people went back to Jason Bay and said perfect swing for Fenway Park. And as you mentioned earlier, his numbers support it.
Yeah, this guy, he first of all, he loves to play in big games. And certainly you're going to have plenty of big games in Fenway Park. But he has a knack for just making it happen when it has to. And he has such a short swing. I've made this mention before. You look at the anatomy of a ball player, and the first thing you look at is his build, obviously. He's got very strong arms, very short arms, and that promotes a short, compact swing, and that's exactly what he has.
2-1 on the way to Napoli. Slow roller, foul.
Didn't know we were going to give anatomy lessons today, but we went there.
Well, Napoli has also been dealing a little bit with some injuries, but he has shaken them off. And John Farrell says he's going to be an everyday guy, whether at first base, which is where we intend on playing him, or DH until Ortiz comes back. Down the line, it is a fair ball. Napoli to first, and he's going to test the arm of Flaherty to second. He's in there as Brian Roberts has the ball dropped to the ground. Hesitation around first base, and Mike Napoli is on second.
Talked about that short Mike Napoli swing. You see a ball in the outer half right here. Napoli stays back, let it travel. That short, compact swing. Great balance. Great hitters are able to drive the ball to right field and hit the ball to left, react to the ball inside. That's just a perfect illustration of a very nice swing.
Now the third baseman, the cleanup hitter for Boston, is Will Middlebrooks. He's got 9 extra base hits in his last 9 games. This one is laced into left center field. It's going to get down. Napoli's going to score. And Will Middlebrooks continues a torrid hitting his last 10 games with an RBI.
Well, McFarland made a mistake on a pitch out over the plate. If you're going to throw that ball away to those right-handed hitters, it's got to be down in the zone. You can see this pitch is not down in the zone. Up, out over the plate. And that's exactly what's supposed to be supposed to happen to it. Now, if that ball's a little bit down, you saw Middlebrooks out in front a little bit. If it's down, that's a ground ball. Ball's up, base hit to left field.
And now Lyle Overbay to be followed by Ryan Sweeney if he can manage to get on. These are a couple of the players the Red Sox are trying to figure out what to do with. A couple of veteran players in Overbay and Sweeney.
A veteran presence right here. Lyle Overbay, been in the league for many, many years. But another guy that can come off the bench. He can take a role in the everyday lineup. Do a little bit of everything for you.
Playing first base for them today is McFarland. Ball evens the count at 1-1. Will Middlebrooks had been batting .387 over his last 9 games and delivers that RBI single. Yesterday the wind was blowing out as well. And Brian Mattis was one of the guys who was on the mound and gave up some hits and some runs. But as Buck said earlier today, when you look at the pitches that were made and the conditions, right, didn't pitch that poorly.
Yeah, the line is not always indicative, especially down here in Florida. Spent a little time out west. It's certainly, I tell you can get some days out there, pop up to the shortstop blowing out of the field.
Count even at 2-2. First inning of a game between the Orioles and the Red Sox. Spring training games on ESPN and ESPN2 today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. On the corner, called strike 3. TJ McFarland heads back to the dugout, down 1-0. The O's will bring up the A lineup. Roberts, McLeod, and Adam Jones when we come back. The Birds, Buck Showalter, a couple of years now, and this team has got its mojo back. And spring training is about getting autographs, getting out of that cold weather in the Northeast, and looking forward to the regular season openers, which are Sunday night here on ESPN with the Astros and Rangers, and of course Monday with a whole slate of games. The Orioles lineup, and this is the one Buck Showalter is going to put out there for the most part.
Well, Brian Roberts at the top of the lineup, 35 years old right now. Can he stay healthy? That's really been the problem. Of course, they got a lot of streaky hitters, but Adam Jones in the middle, defensively, offensively, very explosive.
First pitch from Graham Godfrey, a minor leaguer. He's in for a strike. Will Middlebrooks way in on the grass at third base. And as you mentioned, the key for Brian Roberts is going to be his ability to stay on the field. From 07 to 09, he averaged 156 games a year. He played in 12. 17 games in 2012. In 2011, he managed to play in only 39, and in 2010, 59. So a healthy Roberts in his final year of a contract will go a long way to helping the Orioles.
Buck told us that he played just about every game this spring training. He's feeling healthy, feeling good about himself. So maybe at 35, he finds that fountain of youth.
It's a team that can make you feel young, too, when you're around some of the guys. Machado at third base. You mentioned Adam Jones. Roberts can't check that swing. That's in for a strike.
You know, you touched on something right there. I think there is a lot of motivation to want to be part of something positive. And it has been very positive. We go back a couple of years when the Orioles were able to knock off the Yankees, and last year their postseason play. So this is a ball club with a lot of things trending on the positive. And you know, sitting, and I've been in that situation, an older player that has had to deal with some injuries. You just want to be out there and be part of that positive stuff going on.
Full count to Roberts. Right back up the middle, the shortstop. Jose Iglesias over to first. And that'll bring up Nate McLeod, who's going to play left field for the Orioles today. The other thing that the Orioles did this offseason, they didn't make a lot of moves on the field, but they did sign Buck Showalter and Dan Duquette, the GM, to long extensions. You see Buck's record, and it does, in the first couple of years, mirror what he had in New York, in Texas. He tends to go north. Things go better.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason for that, obviously. I don't think there's any more well-prepared manager in all of Major League Baseball. I'm sure there are other guys that do prepare, but Buck really has a propensity to really share that information with all of his players.
McLeod, this one is into right field, and he's going to be on board at first base. He's going to charge to second base. The throw not in time. Nate McLeod had his mind made up from the get-go, and the throw from Ryan Sweeney wasn't close.
You're absolutely right. And how do you get a double on an in-between ball? Well, you come out of the box, and you can see Nate McLeod with that nice swing, good balance, right out of the box, coming out thinking that's a double. That's what you have to do. You have to make the defense stop you. You see they don't get in front of that ball. It's very tough to catch that ball going away from second base and come back and throw it to second base. Nice job out of the box.
And that speaks to the culture and the Showalter preparation, and he's got everybody buying in. Certainly Adam Jones at the plate's one of those guys as he fouls that one off. We interviewed Adam on Baseball Tonight a couple of weeks ago, and you know, you just listen to him talk, and there are Buckisms that come out of the players.
He spent a little time with the WBC also to prepare for the season. You know, Adam Jones, a very streaky player, had some flashes last year where he was just unstoppable, and then went into a few slumps here and there.
He's in one now. He's 1 for 18 this spring. And as you mentioned, last year in the postseason, unfortunately for the Orioles, he was 2 for 26. He's now in a hole 0-2 with an RBI opportunity, and McLeod out there at second.
One thing I like about Adam Jones and his approach to the game is regardless of what's happening on the offensive end, he's going to give you a gold glove caliber defensive game every single day. We've seen him make some tremendous plays in the outfield. And you can appreciate that. You know, you look at guys, you look at your leadership. Buck is very consistent, and you want that from your players. So you can get that consistency from an effort standpoint defensively.
All tied up on that pitch. A late break up near his wrists, and he couldn't hold back.
This says I am not real sure what I'm doing up there. Have to iron that out.
We're running out of time, aren't we?
Yes, we are. It's an ironing out process during the season, too, though.
Yeah. Now Matt Wieters, the cleanup hitter. You mentioned the Gold Glover. And one of the top catchers in Major League Baseball. Off speed pitch misses.
It's another guy that's been fairly streaky throughout his career. You know, it's I don't know if he's running out of time, but you know, that prospect and that going to be, and certainly we see it defensively, but offensively he's got better numbers than what he has shown, and or better ability what he's shown in his numbers. And certainly it's time to iron that out as well. He's doing a lot of ironing today.
He took command of the pitching staff last year and is looked on as one of the better receivers in the game, kind of the Buster Posey of the American League, just not at that level, but certainly has the ability to be a perennial all-star. He made a second all-star team and a second Gold Glove last year. 23 homers and 83 runs batted in.
Pretty good numbers from the catcher.
So McLeod legged out a double. He's on second with 2 outs in the first inning. Godfrey gets a call down on the strike zone. He evens the count at 2-2.
Catching today for Boston is Christian Vasquez. This guy, we were told, is a 1-7 to second base.
And explain what that means.
That means from the time that he catches the ball and the ball arrives to second base, normally it's around a 2.0, 2 seconds. He has a 1.7 second to second base. This guy can throw. Says he's not a Benito Santiago type to drop to his knees.
Matt Wieters stopped there at first by Lyle Overbay to Godfrey covering, and it prevents a run. Nice job by Lyle Overbay at first base. Denies Matt Wieters an RBI, and the Orioles what would have been a tying run. But a web gem early here at Ed Smith Stadium. All right, boys and girls, here we go. ESPN's coverage of opening night, March 31st. Astros play their first American League game. The Astros in the American League against Adrian Beltre and their in-state rival Texas Rangers, 8 Eastern ESPN. Opening night baseball on ESPN is presented by Burger King. Rangers-Stros, Sunday, March 31st at 8 on ESPN. You can watch it live on Watch ESPN. And, of course, spend the 2 prior hours to 8 with us on Baseball Tonight. We'll start at 6 o'clock. Leading off the top of the second for the Red Sox, Ryan Sweeney. I'm Carl Ravitch. Barry Larkin is here. Doug Glanville will join us shortly. He's down on the field. Sweeney was hurt a lot last year. He was limited to only 63 games, 3 stints on the disabled list.
This is another guy that's really trying to battle to make this ball club. And this is the time of spring training once again, where guys are getting ready for the season. Your everyday players are getting ready, trying to work out their kinks here and there. And then you got other veteran players that are out trying to make the ball club.
Yep.
Makes it tough.
Sweeney is a very good contact hitter, and he'll hit for average. He will not hit for much power. But in 5 years with the A's, he hit .283. He's about a .300 hitter against right-handed pitchers. "28 years old. He was part of that deal with the A's where Andrew Bailey came over to Boston in exchange for Josh Reddick, who just exploded with the A's last year.
It's all about opportunity. Talk about Josh Reddick getting an opportunity to play every single day. You know you're going to get out there and get an opportunity to, regardless if you get hits or not. It really changes the psyche of a ball player.
Swing and a miss. Good pitch by McFarland. In and down. And let's send it down to Doug Glanville. Doug.
Thanks, Carl. I'm with Nick Markakis, right fielder here for the Baltimore Orioles. And Nick, we just want to know the status report. You've battled injuries last year with a broken thumb. You also fought some neck things in spring training. So what's your health status at this time?
Good right now. Pain-free, good motion in my neck. Everything's going good. And, hopefully tomorrow, it sounds like I'll be able to DH tomorrow and get some ABs in the game.
Well, it seems like one thing about getting injured is you sit in the observer's chair. What have you seen from this team as you watched the march to the playoffs last year, also in spring training this year?
It was tough to watch, but, those guys made it fun. And, it's just unfortunate. Some injuries you can't prevent. And, it was a tough time, bad timing. But, it was a good experience, even though I wasn't on the field. Just, to see Baltimore the way it was, Baltimore, and, to see the baseball life come back to Baltimore. It was awesome to see, and I know the fans, enjoy it just as much as we did. So it was good to see.
Oh, yeah, and with that enthusiasm, you have a lot of young guns coming here. What's your thoughts on players like Kevin Gausman, Dylan Bundy, Machado? You have a lot of young players. What's your opinion of their talents?
They're awesome. I think the biggest thing you notice with those guys, they got good head on their shoulders, and they're baseball guys. They understand the game, and they're competitive, and that we got a great group of young guys coming up, and I know they're working hard to push their way to get up here and help us and contribute, and sooner or later they'll be here.
Was anybody you've taken under your wing in particular? You've sort of guided?
I'm a kind of quiet one. I kind of sit back and watch things, but guys are talkative. They come up, and they're not afraid to ask questions, and that's what we're here for. That's what we are as a team, and we're just trying to help out any way we can.
Well, talking to Buck Showalter, you mentioned a lot of guys are going to be contributing, and you sort of have a cohesiveness between even AAA, AA, big leagues. Do you feel sort of that family environment here?
Absolutely. It doesn't just take 25 guys throughout the whole season. It takes a lot. It takes an organization, and we saw that last year. We had a lot of guys come and go, and it wasn't just those 25 guys that were on there opening day. We had a lot come through, and a lot contributed, and that's what it takes to get where you want to get at the end of the year.
Well, it's fascinating enough, 29-9 in one-run games. Is that something you can explain? Is that the attitude? What's your reaction to that?
That sums up our bullpen. We got a great bullpen. We got some big arms down there. Strop setting up for JJ, and once you get to JJ, it's you know, it's tough to battle against him and what he brings to the table. And you know, they were a big part of our success last year in those games. And you know, we're looking for you know, the same thing out of them this year. I know it's going to be tough, but I know they're working hard, and you know, they want the same.
All right, Nick. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Good luck. All right, Carl.
Christian Vasquez is batting now. T.J. McFarland has struck out 4 already. And he throws the ball over to first base. Jose Iglesias not lost on the Red Sox with Stephen Drew, who did get some good news, Barry. He is recovering from concussion symptoms and has been cleared to begin baseball activities. But Iglesias could very well be there opening day as the shortstop. Has been hitting the ball much better. Apparently a different approach this year.
Yeah, that's always been the case with Iglesias. Iglesias is one of the best defensive infielders in all of Major League Baseball. But the question was always his ability to put the bat on the ball. Looks like he's gotten a little bit stronger. And like you said, a little bit different approach he is putting the bat on the ball.
1-1 pitch outside to Vasquez. And it's interesting, Xander Bogaerts is also here for the Red Sox, and most say that he is their best prospect, or one of their best prospects, and he too is a shortstop. So they have a lot of shortstop position players on this team.
Well, that has been an area of contention.
That ball is hammered off the bat of Vasquez, and it is gone. A 2-run shot for Christian Vasquez. Boston leads 3-0. Wow, the wind's blowing out, Barry, but that was getting out anyway.
Yeah, I think that was out of just about every single ballpark, and you can see certainly a mistake from McFarland. When you don't throw 92, 93 miles an hour, you have to be able to work on the corners of the plate. You can see that one was center cut, and Christian Vasquez did not miss any of it.
You talked about Vasquez's throwing ability behind the plate. That's the one thing he needs to work on is hitting, and that's a nice game and a nice start for him with a home run.
Very nice sign right there.
Back to the top, Shane Victorino, one of 4 strikeout victims of McFarland today. On the ground to third, fielded cleanly by Manny Machado, throws over. Victorino is retired. But a big blast, first home run of what may be many given the wind. Welcome back, everyone. We are in Sarasota, Florida, home of Ed Smith Stadium, Baltimore Orioles, and a lot of things have changed since Buck Showalter took over. It's very Oriole-centric now with all the orange
Cincinnati Reds were. I had spring training here.
Yep.
Didn't look like this back then.
Chris Davis is a home run every time he steps up, waiting to happen. 33 last year. Big, strong 27-year-older from Longview, Texas. He rips one into right field. He will not advance to second like McLeod does, but Davis is on. And of course, both of these teams reside in the American League East. One of the reasons we're not seeing ace starting pitchers today. Yankees are all banged up. The Orioles hope for more of that one-run magic. Do the Rays have enough offense to win a division? The Toronto Blue Jays are the hot pick by everybody. And of course, John Farrell replaces Bobby Valentine in Ben Cherington's next year here as general manager, having taken over for Theo Epstein. It is considered by most to be a wide open division.
Well, I think one thing that is for certain, I think you have seen the New York Yankees come back to the pack. I think they separated themselves some 5 years ago, and we have certainly seen a changing of the guard.
Hardy into left field, running hard as Davis. He'll stay at third base. Hardy into second with a double, and Baltimore starts the second with a couple of hits. But your point about the Yankees coming back is we heard John Shambi and Kurt mention Vernon Wells, who's actually had a pretty nice spring. He goes in to replace some of the home run power that has been lost by the Yankees. Swisher gone, Martin gone, A-Rod gone. It's a massive amount of, when it comes to percentages, home runs that they have to try to replace.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the one guy that is the cog for them is Derek Jeter. And Derek Jeter had the catastrophic ankle injury and the surgery this offseason. Now it's going to start the season on the disabled list. You know, he's the catalyst. He's the guy. He's the tone setter for those guys. It's a different looking team without Derek Jeter there. And you know, although he didn't contribute to much in the home run area, certainly everyone felt comfortable with him being in the lineup and were able to do their things. If he's not in that lineup, that certainly changes the complexity of the team. I think it affects those numbers even dramatically more.
And it appears as if it's going to be a DL to start the season for Jeter. Wilson Betemit is the designated hitter for Buck Showalter today. This one is lifted high and deep to center field. Victorino is going back at the track, off the wall, and that is a home run. A 3-run home run for Wilson Betemit. Wind aided perhaps, but we're tied.
You know, wind aided perhaps, but an approach. Runners on second and third base, you're trying to pull the ball, so you're trying to get a pitch where you can pull. You can see Wilson Betemit getting the ball out over the plate, definitely with the approach to pull the ball. You can see him shorten up on the swing, stayed inside of the ball, got up in the elements, went out of the ballpark. But attention to detail, pulling the ball, runners on second and third base. He hits that ground ball to the second baseman. That's his job.
Now Manny Machado steps in, the young third baseman who impressed last year for the Orioles. Baseball acumen, we remember the play in the postseason with a fake throw to first. Shot to third base off the glove of Will Middlebrooks. So Graham Godfrey is getting hit hard in this inning. As the Orioles 4 consecutive hits.
And Machado comes up as a shortstop, and this is the one thing they've talked about his ability to do is to handle the bat. And you can see Middlebrooks didn't have much of a chance to react. They call it a hot corner for a reason, folks. But Machado, a third baseman, I really tell you, when you're a shortstop and you have a shortstop that's playing third base, it really frees you up in order to do some other things. J.J. Hardy, a Gold Glove shortstop, but with much more range because he's got a shortstop in Machado playing third base. So he's able to play up the middle a little bit more. Those guys are in constant communication. It's a very good defensive ball club.
This is Ryan Flaherty, the number 9 hitter for the Orioles. Squares to bunt. That pitch is outside. You talk about the American League East and the Yankees injuries. John Farrell knows the American League East, not just because he's been with the Red Sox as a pitching coach, but of course in Toronto last year, Doug.
Well, no doubt, Carl. I mean, that's got to be a huge advantage, recognizing that the team to beat seems to be the Toronto Blue Jays. Huge acquisitions this offseason. Free agent signings, R.A. Dickey, Burley, and Jose Reyes most notably. But he has the scouting report on a lot of the guys that have been there that built that organization in terms of young talent like Brett Laurie. So he recognized there's been a lot of change, and that's not going to be as big of an advantage as it would appear, but certainly he has a leg up on the Toronto Blue Jays and the scouting report on them.
Off-speed pitch is in there to Flaherty.
And Dougie talks about the team to beat. You know, I don't know if Toronto is the team to beat yet. I think they have plenty of personnel. I think they've got great potential on that team. But you have to get all those guys playing together. Everybody has to be on the same page. You know, it's not about collecting the best talent. It's about the team that does the small things, the cohesive things, the intangible things.
Well, a couple of years ago, as you know, the team they put together in Boston was supposed to win 128 games.
Case in point. There you go. So it's not. I don't think it's necessarily the team to beat. And I don't think we can tag the Toronto as the team to beat at this point. They certainly have a lot of talent up there, great potential. But they've got to get out on the field, and they've got to figure it out, and everyone has to have the same plan and pull together.
Backdoor breaking ball against Flaherty. So then who is the team to beat in the American League East? If you're not going to hand it to the Blue Jays and you had to hand it to somebody, who would you hand it to?
Well, I don't think you could hand it to anyone, but I look at the Baltimore Orioles and the way that they pay attention to detail. I think that is so important. I think the talent is so close. The difference is late in the ball game. The difference is a one-run ball game. This is a team last year, 29-9. They set the major league record for winning percentage in one-run ball games. And this is in the history of baseball, at least as long as they've been keeping these stats. So you look at it, you look at the small detail, and you look like where this team has come over the last few years. I think it's the Baltimore Orioles that are the team to beat.
This is Brian Roberts. Well, if it's going to be close and the games are going to be close, bullpens may be a deciding factor, and that is certainly one of the roles and responsibilities that the Red Sox paid a lot of attention to. They've improved their bullpen. Many believe it could be the best in the American League. But the Orioles as well, with Strope and with Jim Johnson, who was great right up until that postseason, that game one against the Yankees in the division series, in which they had the lead and gave up 5 in the 9th. It may very well come down to bullpens in this division. Brian Roberts, double play ball, flip to Iglesias, throws to first. And after a lot of thunder from the Orioles, with their first 4 reaching base or getting hits, they go quietly. Nothing quiet about Wilson Betemit unloading a 3-run home run. We're tied through 2. This telecast of Major League Baseball spring training on ESPN is brought to you by the Principal Financial Group. The Financial Group can help build, grow, and protect your financial future. Move to the third inning. We had some terrible weather blow through Florida yesterday. Many of you have seen it on the news up in the Orlando area. But it is now clear and cool and comfortable. Temperatures in the mid-60s. As Johnny Gomes, the journeyman, steps in. 32 years young and a big part of the remaking of the Red Sox. Underneath the glove, it almost looked like a changeup to Machado. It got to him maybe a little slower than he thought it was going to get to him, and it looked like it went under his glove. So Gomes is on. And Barry talked about the one-run games. You know, Buck talked about even this spring they've been very good in one-run games because their depth is so good. Players come in the seventh inning, they want to keep the winning going. But 29-9 since 1901, no team had a higher winning percentage in those games.
5-2 in one-run ball games this spring so far. You know, you kind of have a personality. And this is what we do. You know, and you're right. He talked about some of the guys that come off the bench, some of the good players that he has to make a decision on whether they're going to make this ball club or not. But it becomes a personality thing. When we want to play for one-run ball games because we've been so successful at them. And you mentioned the bullpen. You certainly have to have a strong bullpen in order to be successful in those games.
Called strike. Mike Napoli is up. He doubled, scored a run in the first inning.
You know, Carl, when you play in so many one-run ball games, there's like no panic. You know, you work and you go out there and you score some runs. The other team comes back, makes it a one-run ball game late in the game, and you still feel comfortable because you've had so much success at that. That is so important in the psyche of a ball club. You just have no panic. You're certainly not going to see panic from Buck Showalter. And these guys just don't panic. They've been very successful because of that strong bullpen. But once again, it's that defensive presence behind them. They know they're going to put the ball in play. The pitchers pitch to contact, and the players make the play behind it.
1-2. That ball hit up the middle, and it's going to get through. Napoli is 2 for 2, and the Red Sox have 2 men on. Doug, to pick up the point on the one-run games for the Orioles.
Well, there's no question. I had a chance to talk to Randy Wolf, who was in Baltimore last season. He said extremely relaxed. That's how he described the environment. There was a calm even behind in games. They knew that they could bridge right to that closer and Johnson could close it out. They did a great job of even in short starts where the starting pitching did not go deep in the ball game. They were still able to bridge to that late inning heroics. And they had so many excellent extra inning games and late inning heroics contributions from all through the team. So they believe, and they've proven it last year, and that's the momentum they're taking this year.
Will Middlebrooks, this one lifted to right. The wind's got it. The wind gets it all the way to the wall, but there's a traffic jam on the base paths. Wasn't known if it was going to get caught. In to score is Johnny Gomes. But Mike Napoli's only on second base because he didn't know if that ball was going to be caught, get out, or hit the wall.
Carl, I can officially say that was a wind-aided single. Ball up in the jet string. You can see Flaherty got a read on the ball, but it just kept drifting on him. You'd like to see that outfielder get to the wall, but when the elements play like that, you can see Johnny Gomes does a nice job staying close enough. If he catches that ball, he can tag up, but far enough from the bag where he could score.
So if it's in the air and it's hit reasonably well, it's likely to leave.
If it's hit in the air and you're an outfielder, sprint to the wall.
Well, there's no question. I mean, playing outfield in these high skies, it is extremely challenging because typically you want to get to your spot to the wall and work off of it, but you're so afraid of taking your eye off the ball because the ball disappears in these lack of clouds. Tough outfield.
Lyle Overbay. This one is hit a little lower line drive. And now Napoli is tagging. Here comes a throw in to third. He's safe. No advancement at first from Middlebrooks. Interesting base running in from Mike Napoli.
When you look at that sky right there, I mean, that's the backdrop. If you're playing center field, you see that there's no context to work off of. There's no backdrop. So the ball, you have this white spot and a very grayish blue sky. very hard to pick up in some levels. So as an outfielder, you're keeping your eye on the ball, and sometimes you lose your orientation of the wall. And you saw Flaherty there sort of end up a little short of the wall, thinking he was deeper, and the ball went off the wall over his head.
Ryan Sweeney struck out his first at bat. So we've seen a couple of home runs already. 7 runs are on the board in the top of the 3rd inning. And sitting there on that Baltimore bench, what are you thinking about T.J. McFarland so far?
Well, McFarland, certainly is a change of speeds guy. I mean, he's going to work off of location, and he has to be very accurate to be successful.
Now they got Napoli in a rundown, Doug. Almost thrown over the head of Machado. Napoli is going to be out at home. So the curious base running continued for Napoli that whole inning. It got off to a sloppy start there with the fly ball to right. It never really improved.
Now in that case, you're trying to get deeper. It's still obviously late in spring training, but this is the time you want to sort of put it all together and make those better decisions. But once you get into no man's land on the base pass, you have to make a decision that's going to get you back to the base safely, and he's been caught in the middle a couple of times.
I get the going on contact, B, but he also, the contact was made. He really hadn't gone yet.
No, he was. Took a quick picture and then decided to go.
These are the things you work through in spring training.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jose Iglesias, the Red Sox shortstop today, comes up with 2 men on and promptly swings and misses at the first pitch. He had a single in his first at bat. And again, as we mentioned, Stephen Drew, who was picked up by Boston to be the everyday shortstop, is recovering from concussion symptoms. Clark, you were a Hall of Fame shortstop. How come do you think the Red Sox have had a hard time finding a consistent shortstop?
I don't know. I've asked that question quite a few times. I asked that question to Nomar Garcia-Parra. He couldn't answer it either. It's not easy to find a guy that can go out and contribute consistently. It's a rare breed, and when you get one, you want to try to hold on to him.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Mike Aviles was very good last year. It wasn't expected that he would show up as well as he did defensively, but even by metrics and measures, he had a very good defensive season, was a solid player. So they had that opportunity. I think they made the decision that they had more future with Iglesias. Drew, obviously, a guy they brought in, and I think they were betting on that. But I think Mike Aviles did a fantastic job last year.
1-2 to Iglesias on the ground to first with some spin on it. Nice job by Chris Davis to make sure it doesn't get past him. What looked like it could have been a big inning ends up just with 1 run coming in, and the Red Sox are leading 4-3. League Baseball spring training on ESPN, presented by Head and Shoulders. Time running out for the Floridians to catch Major League Baseball, as all the teams will move from Arizona and Florida towards the middle or end of this week, and we begin regular season play Sunday night at 8 Eastern time on ESPN with the Rangers and the Astros. Baseball tonight will be back starting at 6 Eastern time on Sunday night, and then every night at 10 and midnight. McLeod fouls that off. Looking forward to another season with Barry and Kurt and all the rest. We've added a couple of people. Manny Actis now part of the crew. Have Mr. Cora's part of the team as well.
Nice little Latin flair.
Yeah.
How about that?
Nomar and Mark Mulder back. Of course, Kurt Schilling working hard in the studio again today.
You didn't mention Johnny Cakes. Where's Johnny Cakes going?
Crocker kind of abandoned ship to join the Sunday night crew, but he will be prominently featured on Baseball Tonight on Sundays and Mondays as well.
And we do call him Johnny Cakes.
Yes, we do. Affectionately known as Johnny Cakes. Charity hop there from Middlebrooks, and the throw over retires Nate McLeod. Spring training will continue tomorrow on ESPN. It's Ike Davis and those Mets against Matt Holliday and the Cardinals. Spring training is presented by Head and Shoulders, Tuesday 1 Eastern on ESPN, live on Watch ESPN. Cardinals are a little concerned about Carlos Beltran. Got a toe issue, and David Freese dealing with a nagging back injury. So we'll get an update on both of those guys tomorrow.
Manager Mike Matheny had some surgery this offseason as well.
Yeah. Good to see he's okay. A little serious. All right, so we're 1 for 19 in the spring for Adam Jones. He played in the WBC. He struck out, didn't look good in the first. And if you look at the numbers, the metrics, kind of going the wrong way since the big contract. So talk me off the ledge here.
Well, Adam Jones, once again, you're going to get the defensive effort every single day. And you know, you get a guy with kind of a bigger guy with a longer swing. He's got a lot of different levers. He's got to just figure it out over time.
Big contract. Being paid, though, by not just for his defense.
No, he's going to have to contribute offensively. Absolutely. You know, and he's not that type of personality to rest on his laurels. He's not a guy that, now that he got the contract, you'll see a lack of effort or lack of hustle. You know, he's probably the first guy here in the morning working in the cages and the last one to leave. That's just the personality that he has. So I wouldn't be too terribly concerned with him. He'll figure it out. He's always been, he has been a very streaky hitter, and he is going through a bad streak right now. But when he's good, he's awfully good.
And he's a gamer, as you can see from the graphic there. Ichiro and Prince. He's an everyday guy. This one is lifted to right center field. It's in the wind. And he's okay. It's gone. Adam Jones is back.
Well, you're not really looking at the result here in spring training, the home run. You're looking at the approach. And from a right-handed pitcher, a slider, you want your hitter to drive the ball to right center field, and that's exactly what he does right here. Let's look at the replay. You get a slider out over the plate, maybe even a fastball out over the plate. You see the approach. You try to keep the front side closed, drive the ball to right center field, and the elements helped a little bit there, but certainly a good approach. And that's what you want to see from your middle of the lineup hitter, driving the ball to right center field.
You know, that's what Adam Jones does so well. At any time, any pitch, any situation, he can break out and do that. I mean, and he was one of the best hitters in baseball on first pitch sliders and curveballs, where the pitchers were trying to get over and sneak one by him. He can hit it out of the ballpark. So he can flip that lever, and all of a sudden, one run's on the board.
Matt Wieters with the shift on, squares to bunt. He puts it down the third baseline. And a little cat and mouse between Buck Showalter and John Farrell as Will Middlebrooks vacated third base to move into a shift against the left-handed hitter. And right away, Wieters went into a bunt mode.
Seen that so many times. You see that dramatic shift, and you would think that lefty, if he could just get the ball down. But Iglesias now, don't count him out, because I've seen him make some plays, and that was a tremendous attempt right there. incredibly gifted defensive player, Iglesias, but a nice job by Wieters getting that bunt down.
And you like the play, right? Spring training, why not?
Why not?
And now Chris Davis. He too lays down a bunt, fielded by Godfrey, the pitcher. No play.
Now the big boys are going to be in the clubhouse telling the leadoff hitter, the Brian Roberts, this is all you got to do, get on base. Can't you see? It's not that hard to do. Chris Davis gets a nice ball. I like the little leg kick right there. Get him a head start. You see him put his head down, and the big fella scurrying down the line. Runs pretty good.
Well, small ball. This is how you get into one-run games. And if you need one run, you're going to have to sacrifice a guy up. So Buck had his number 4 and 5 hitters both bunt.
Wait a minute. What? The Buck did not have his 4 and 5 guys bunting.
I think Wieters
got to retract that. That was done on their own. They better not have it. I guarantee you Buck did not put the bunt down for these guys.
Boy, and a shift like that, I'd think Buck say, okay, sure, go ahead, we'll do this. Now Hardy, who doubled in his first at bat. Not bunting.
No, J.J. Hardy with a healthy lineup. J.J. Hardy's going to be able to drop down a little bit more in that lineup. J.J. Hardy, more of a power guy. Not so much a get-on-base guy, but a shortstop with a lot of power.
Lifted high to left. Shallow. Wind has this one, too. And the adventures for the outfielders continue. It bounces off the warning track and over the wall for a double as Johnny Gomes lost that one in the wind.
J.J. Hardy hit a fairly routine fly ball to left field. See off the bat, and Johnny Gomes takes the approach. Then it gets up in that wind. That sun. Dougie, how'd that feel out there?
There's no question. I mean, high sky is already a challenge, but then you're dealing with the wind. And so you're trying the best you can to keep your eye on the ball, because as soon as you take it off, it disappears. So the best thing you can try to do is work deep. Just go in and work off of that wall, because as soon as you try to take that direct route, the ball's going to keep carrying over your head. But nonetheless, it's a tough sky to deal with.
Interesting inning with 2 bunts and then a high fly, which results in a run. And the second double, if you will, for J.J. Hardy. And here comes Wilson Betemit, who blasted one about 420 feet to center field for a home run. This is a great day for kite flying. It's a tough day to be an outfielder. And what do you think John Farrell said to Graham Godfrey on the mound?
Keep the ball down. High sky and it's a little windy, so keep the ball down. And that's what you got to do. You have guys that don't have overpowering stuff. You cannot live up in the zone. These guys are too good at hitters to make mistakes up over the plate when you're 79, 85 miles an hour. You can see Wilson Betemit got a pitch up in the zone earlier where he was trying to move runners over. Well, he moved them all over. All right. But that's another pitch up in the zone with a very experienced, good hitter that's going to do damage.
This one is also driven to right center field. Sweeney's going over. He'll make the catch out there, and tagging from third and from second, both Oriole runners. So they really manufactured some runs that inning with the bunts. Davis touches home.
You know, and that's the attention to detail once again that you get from the Baltimore Orioles. And I think that's one of the reasons why this team wins so many close ball games. It's because when you do have runners in scoring position, you have guys that are willing to take the right approach, not necessarily the approach to get themselves a hit, but whatever they have to do in order to move the runner over. And that comes from that man right there, Buck Showalter.
And now Manny Machado, who was 19 last year. Breaking ball misses. What impressed you most about Machado as a young player last year?
Well, it was maturity. First of all, making that move to third base and accepting it, and and playing on a team that is going to the postseason as such a young player, and at only 19 years old, doing it with such poise. A lot of tradition there. You think about some of the players that played before you. some of the shoes that you have to fill. You know, the fact that Cal Ripken is watching you just about every single day. This guy, you know, he's kind of taking the same path as Cal Ripken, a bigger shortstop that made the move to third base. Just incredibly poised for such a young player.
Jim Palmer's name is right there. The youngest Oriole did a home run. And yeah, Palmer did. Now 21 years of age on opening day as he fouls that one off. Between Bowie and Baltimore, a combined 18 home runs for Manny. He played 109 games at Bowie and 51 with the Orioles.
You know, there was a lot of hype. I mean, a lot of hype about this kid coming up also. And, you know, that's something else you got to deal with. You know, you get that bonus baby tag, you know, drafted high, a lot of hype. You have to deal with a lot of that going into it. Then you make the position switch. You know, once again, it's just a lot of things. It's not just stuff on the field that you have to deal with. It's just off the field as well, and he's done it all clean, and you haven't heard anything about him in the media.
Right.
He's doing it the right way.
Debuted against the Kansas City Royals. He was 20 years and 34 days old and had 2 hits in his major league debut. Swings and misses there and looks skyward. But the Orioles went small ball after they went long ball. Adam Jones' second hit this spring. It was a home run. We're back with the Orioles up by 2. Welcome back, everyone. Focus on the NBA tonight. The action has LeBron and the Heat looking to extend their historic winning streak to 27. They'll be taking on Jameer Nelson and the Magic, who played him tough earlier. NBA special edition presented by State Farm, 7 Eastern, ESPN, and, of course, on the ESPN app. Here come the Red Sox, and their small ball as Brock Holt leads off with an infield single. So with the Red Sox on, we look at what Miami has done with their 26-game win streak. And, of course, they have trailed by upwards of 27 points in some of these games and have rallied. They're trying to chase down the great Laker team from the early 70s that won 33 games. And the Orlando trip, the first of 4 of a road trip, which I believe has San Antonio on it and Chicago on it.
Orlando has played them tough this year also.
They have.
Couple opportunities to beat them.
In spite of having the second worst record in the NBA, the Magic can can be tough. Shelley Smith has been covering and following the Heat on SportsCenter all day. Apparently the Dwayne Wade decision is a game time decision. Kind of remarkable what's happened here in South Florida. I mean, this was the Miami Marlins, right? They were the thing.
They were.
And that fell apart, and now it's all basketball.
Yeah, you got the Heat. You got the Magic.
You got the Florida Gulf Coast. You got the University of Florida.
And you got the...
That's about it.
That's right.
So those four
you
teams.
You got the Hurricanes, baby.
The what?
The Hurricanes.
The catcher's Christian Vasquez. He blasted a home run in the second.
Yeah, we got that guy. Who is that guy?
Shane Larkin.
I think the coolest thing for Shane has been LeBron James has sending him tweets and shout outs. You know, LeBron was at the game when they played North Carolina. Shane got a breakaway and threw the ball off the backboard, alley-oop off the backboard to Kenny Kaji. And Dwayne Wade and Jones and LeBron, they were at the game. And, you know, the cameras were on them. And actually, the next game, Dwayne Wade throws one off the backboard to LeBron, and they mentioned the Miami Hurricanes. So I think that's been the coolest thing for Shane during this whole run.
What have you've been with them a lot? So what have you observed about the team? Because, you know, some people actually repick the brackets now. They're in the Sweet 16. The Larranaga relationship, the players. What have you seen?
Well, they've got some very mature players, and I think this is one thing that is certainly working in their favor. If they have, you know, a couple of 6-year seniors, they've got you know, a couple of redshirt guys that have been there for a while. They've got some age and some maturity on that team. So it doesn't seem like they get too caught up in the moment. They take a little more mature of approach to the game. Larranaga has done such a great job. He's an older coach. He's kind of a no-nonsense guy. And, you know, that sprinkled in with the little youth with Shane at the point guard position has proven to be very effective.
Big step back 3 last night for Shane Late. Now, did you have a basketball net in the driveway?
Oh, yeah, man. This guy, he just wanted to go out and work at it all the time. And
what about baseball or football like you played?
It is true. It is a true story. And I've told this story that Tony Perez taught Shane how to hit. Even Pete Rose helped him with his hitting. He went to go play Little League in Orlando, Florida, and the coach told him whoever taught you how to hit didn't know what they were talking about. And I think Shane just lost his confidence in coaches as far as baseball was concerned. So when it was time to go back to Orlando after spring training and working with Tony Perez, when it was time to go play baseball, and we went to Cincinnati, he told his mother he didn't want to play baseball.
Really?
He wanted to play basketball. So he's always been passionate about basketball. He's always played it. He's done well with it.
What was the last name of the Little League coach?
I try to forget certain things.
I mean, like,
let's leave that alone.
Was it a disciple of like Ted Williams? I mean, who was it that said,
yeah,
whoever taught you? Oh, what's your last name? Larkin?
It wasn't Perez. I tell you that his last name was not Perez, nor was it Larkin.
This is Shane Victorino, who's 0 for 2 today for the Red Sox. And we talked a little bit about the WBC and you managing the team from Brazil. There are, beyond the injuries, which we've seen happen to Hanley Ramirez and others with the WBC, sometimes you don't get the at-bats you need. And as a switch hitter, it may be even more difficult. Do you think that's what's affecting Shane, a little slow start here in the spring?
I think that certainly has something to do with it. I think Shane maybe got 8 at-bats during the WBC, and as a switch hitter, you need to double up on your at-bats so you can get them from both sides of the plate. And that just, you have so many players that you have to get in there during the WBC. Sometimes guys are just limited. So, you know, I think they have to clean it up a little bit and have more of a commitment from both sides. If you're going to send a player, he certainly needs to play. And that's not always the case because you've got 2 guys at basically every position.
Fouled back.
You know, but when you have such a veteran player like a Shane Victorino, you know what you have to do in order to get yourself successful. I don't think he's on the downside of his career. So, you know, it's a matter of going to the backfields and putting in the extra time to polish up the things that you have to do. So, you know, you look at him in spring training, you look at his numbers, 156, and you see the at-bats in spring training. You know, that is an area of concern, but he's a veteran player, and you certainly expect him to be able to pull out of that.
His struggles continue as he flies out to Chris Davis at first base. Buck Showalter runs out to the mound. it may be the end for T.J. McFarland, and it is. He's coming out of the game. And now he'll await the decision on whether he makes this team as a left-handed specialist out of the bullpen. They have Brian Mattis, who's going to be on the team. They have Troy Patton as well. So pitching change here. We send it back to our studio for John Shambi and Kurt Schilling.
All right, Ravi, thanks very much. Here in studio, John and Kurt, and let's talk some fantasy for you as we compare some outfielders and talk a little bit about Jacoby Ellsbury and Adam Jones, pair of AL East center fielders. What do you have in terms of, I don't know, pitting these two together? One's 11, one's 14.
Well, I'll go back to you with this. Are we looking at these guys as healthy the entire year?
I mean, it's specifically Ellsbury. I think you have to say yes.
So if these guys are going to play the entire year, this is a very skewed list for me. Jacoby Ellsbury is one of the top 5 outfielders in the game if he's healthy all year. And that's a big if, obviously. But he's a guy that gets 300 plus, 30 homers plus, 30 steals plus, and that offense probably 100 runs plus, doubles, triples. He can do all of it offensively. He's just got to stay on the field.
So from a fantasy standpoint, the point would be he's better value, in your opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not to knock Adam Jones, but
Sure.
I think Adam is moving himself into the upper echelon of outfielders. Defensively, he's become an outstanding player, but defense doesn't play in fantasy baseball. You're looking at all offense, and I go with Ellsbury.
Well, again, obviously, if Jacoby Ellsbury is healthy, he'll be a huge part of the Red Sox and their success. Back out to Sarasota and Carl.
All right, man, thank you very much. And they do believe that Ellsbury is going to be okay. Yesterday, he attempted to steal his first base after he had twisted his ankle running back to first base. So fantasy baseball is now front and center, and you can also see that we'll have our BBTN 500 for March 20th through 28th. We'll unveil Baseball Tonight's ranking of the top 500 players for 2013. The top 10 on Baseball Tonight Thursday at 10 p.m. That was tough. Top 10 players in Major League Baseball at 10 p.m. Sean Gleason is on to pitch. Who would you rank, Lark? Who's the best player in Major League Baseball? Trout? I mean, that's 1 year in. Is he all of a sudden the best player?
No, I'm going to go Triple Crown.
Cabrera?
Miguel Cabrera, yes. He's certainly in the top 5, though, Mike Trout.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Trout, Cabrera, we'll see the others unveiled. For sure, those two will be in the top 10. Is Troy Tulowitzki going to be there with all his injuries? Is he ready to stay in the top 10 Major League Baseball players?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Bryce Harper, he'll be there.
Really? Top 10?
I believe so. On potential alone.
Huh. That's Thursday at 10 Eastern time. Johnny Gomes. Fastball from Gleason down a little bit, 2-0. So did T.J. McFarland do enough to make the Baltimore Orioles, or will he be lost as a Rule 5 pick? The Orioles have got to have him on that Major League roster, or he's going to go somewhere else. I would imagine that because of his ability and his potential and what Buck has seen on a day in which the wind is blowing all over the place, 4 runs, 8 hits.
It's not a good line.
No.
It's certainly not indicative of how he threw the ball. I think he threw the ball much better. Now, you had a couple balls that were up in the zone, a couple balls that the wind certainly played havoc with. Those are things that you have to take into consideration.
So Brock Holtz at second. Victorino popped out. Johnny Gomes walked. Napoli now comes up. How much can a player really affect the culture of a clubhouse or players? Because there seemed to be such an effort to do that for Ben Cherington and the Red Sox.
Well, I think it first of all starts with the manager and the personality of the manager. And Farrell being such a nice laid-back type of guy, he's going to give his players the ability. He told me today it is all about the players. Once we as coaches start involving ourselves, then there become problems. So he's a players manager. He's all about the players having it their way.
That one got Napoli up near the shoulder. So Napoli will go down to first. That was a little too close for comfort.
I don't want to see that. Unintentional. But the problem always, you see a hitter kind of look at the pitcher like, what are you doing? And it's not necessarily, are you trying to hit me? It's about, you missed up around my head. And that's a problem. Anyone will get excited, animated about getting hit by a pitch. But when it's up around your head, then you start to take exception to it.
Will Middlebrooks swings late at that one. I was always curious going through the minor leagues, and you didn't have to do that for very long, but the risk injury seems so much greater because pitchers don't have the control that they do at the major league level. It's kind of an odd way to look at it, but it feels like the risk of injury is greater at that level, moving up.
Well, you do see it happen quite often in the minor leagues. Guys are uncomfortable pitching in, and they're trying to establish the fact that they can throw on the inner half of the plate. Occasionally gets away from them.
A strikeout with the bases loaded as Will Middlebrooks goes down after drilling Napoli. Gleason settles and gets him to chase a fastball. We send it back to Bristol, John and Kurt.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. Here in studio for the Red Sox last year, everything went wrong. Results-wise, pitching was a problem. 27th out of 30 teams in ERA. What kind of impact can John Farrell have on the pitching staff?
Well, it's a challenge because he's got a pitching coach who has to run the pitching staff, and he's got to respect that ground, that turf. But you've got John Lester and the guys that were there when John was there who know him, who are going to naturally lean back on him. And I think you've seen probably the initial impact of John this spring. John Lester's had a phenomenal spring. He's done some things that make you think he's going back to the guy he once was, which is a Cy Young contender. He has that effect. He has such a presence about him, and he's easy to talk to, and he's an unbelievable communicator. So he's going to have whatever impact he thinks he needs to have to make that staff.
So an intangible effect you think it starts
Absolutely.
with.
Absolutely.
Well, John Farrell and the Red Sox certainly going to need to pitch better in 2013. Back to Sarasota, and we hand it over to Carl Ravitch.
Hi, thank you very much. So John Farrell, one thing he is easy to talk to. The Orioles lead at 6-4 in the top of the fourth inning. The storylines for Boston really do focus on changing the direction of the team, and they bring in John, who was the pitching coach with Terry Francona from 07 through 2010. They're trying to bounce back from which was a disaster last year. And it was interesting, Johnny Gomes, who played against the Red Sox, even said, you know, believe it or not, I actually felt bad for the players on the field. David Ortiz is still dealing with some heel issues. They hope to have him back sometime before May 1st. And the man that is easy to talk to joins us now, John Farrell, as Clayton Mortensen takes over on the mound. All right, John, so how are things going? How would you describe Camp Red Sox here with less than a week to go?
You know, Carl, I think the number of new players that we brought in, the professional approach that they do have, we've had a very workmanlike, a business-like type of approach. Their attention to detail, concentration, the energy, even with an extended spring training, has been very good start to finish so far.
What were you expecting, given all you had heard and even observed from the other dugout, relative to what you got?
You know, Carl, I think it was pretty consistent because I've had some relationships with guys that are still here from a couple of years ago. Granted, there was a reworking of the roster that Ben Cherington and his staff put together. But as I started to talk to individual players after coming back over to Boston, it was clear that guys were eager to get to spring training, rewrite the story that took place a year ago. And I heard you guys at the outset before we cut in here is that this is a matter of getting back to the Red Sox ways. That's a deep lineup, one that will grind out at bats, but more importantly, how consistently we pitch from the mound to start ball games will be a key for us.
And a couple of quick health updates here. Ortiz and Stephen Drew, what are your expectations on them?
You know, I think we'll get a better read before we break camp. If they're able to get on the field with some activity, whether that's in a minor league game for Stephen Drew or on the field with some BP with David, that might give us a better insight into their eventual return. But make no mistake, they're key to our lineup going forward.
And what makes this Jackie Bradley Jr. decision so difficult, John?
Well, the fact is he's got 1 year in professional baseball, even though it was a successful year. We also have to balance the current injuries that we just talked about and the left-handed bats that are taken out of our lineup. But the one thing that's been great to see is a very professional approach, and I would say a really polished approach for a young, good-looking player.
You expect him to be with the team opening day?
Well, great question. We're still working through that, and we've got ideally we'd like to have our team set by Thursday. So we've got a number of discussions coming up here, but he's done everything in his power to impact the decision as best he can.
And we'll see him today?
Later in the game, yeah.
All right, John, thank you very much.
All right, guys, talk to you soon.
That's the manager of the Boston Red Sox, John Farrell. Clayton Mortensen is now pitching. And you saw a pretty good, what looked like a changeup there to Ryan Flaherty.
You know, talking to John Farrell, as a player, you want someone at the helm who doesn't panic, someone at the helm who is kind of easygoing. You know, I think about Davey Johnson. You know, I think about managers that I played for and it was very comfortable playing for. And the one guy that John Farrell reminds me of is Davey Johnson, just because he just seems to have such an easy demeanor. And certainly you're going to need that in a city where scrutiny is very high. The pressure is very high on the players. And, you know, and they have to change the culture in Boston based on what happened the last year and the last couple of years, things that were reported in the clubhouse. There certainly is going to be a lot of expectation on the field as well as off the field.
As Kurt in the studio knows, being under that microscope, it's not exclusive in Major League Baseball. There are other cities that are like it. But it is unique when you lose and when you win. The highs are would feel like a little higher than other cities, and the lows feel certainly a little lower. And having come to Connecticut, Barry, you get a feel for the sort of connection that fans have to that team. It can ruin a summer if there's a bad May. I mean, that's where they are with the Red Sox.
You know, they call them fans for a reason, fanatics, and it is fanatical up there. And you know, you're right, it's euphoric when you win, and it is almost somewhat I won't say depressing, but certainly stressful.
It's close to depressing.
And and we have noticed some stressful times in Boston, at least this past season. But you know, you've got the base for a very good ball club, and you know, personality is everything in your leadership. David Ortiz and Dustin Pedroia, two guys that I don't know if there could be two better guys. You got Big Papi and the little engine that could, you know, and those are the guys that you really kind of rely on to set the tone in the clubhouse. And you've got John Farrell, once again, a guy that is very easygoing. So look for good things to happen. And they're not people aren't really talking about the Boston Red Sox being ultra competitive. But if you look at their ball club, and we had a time to spend with John Farrell today, he is very optimistic about their chances, and I think he should be.
Brian Roberts draws a walk, and on the other side, the Orioles had spent so many years down. They're seeing season tickets sales go up. They're seeing fans come back in a city in which the Ravens have certainly grabbed the sports headlines. You know, the Orioles bumped them a little bit. You know, they reminded everyone there is a good baseball team here, and it's a great baseball city.
Well, it's not only the Ravens, but it's the Washington Nationals also. So, you know, they're going to have to hold serve because the Washington Nationals are on a serious mission. And everyone is predicting that they're going to do very well in the National League East this year. So Baltimore is going to have to step up and get it done.
That's a point well taken. Nate McLouth is at the plate against Clayton Mortensen. Mortensen, 27-year-old. He was selected in the first round by the Cardinals back in the June '07 draft. He's been with the Rockies. In fact, been on 4 different teams: St. Louis, the A's, and now Boston. Came to the Red Sox in 2012. Maybe get a chance to see the arm of Vasquez with Roberts on. Talked about the catcher for the Red Sox, Christian Vasquez, and the comparisons to Pudge Rodriguez.
Built fairly similar to him, and there are certain guys that change the running game, as in don't run. And 1-7 from catching the ball and throwing the ball to second base is awfully quick. So if Mortensen gives him a chance, I don't like the chances of the runner at first base, because certainly 1-7 is quick. Awfully quick. And you knew that going into a ball game. You knew who was behind the dish. You know, the pitcher kicks up like the band director. He's slow to the plate. That's fine. But that catcher being 1-7. Yes, and I did say kicking up like the band director. That's what Deion Sanders used to say. Lark, if he kicks up like the band director, you got to go.
On the infield, sky high, could be trouble. Middlebrooks is there.
Well, Lark, no question about it as a base stealer. When you hear 1-7 from a catcher, I mean, a pitcher just has an average motion, and you have no chance of stealing that base. So just his arm alone and his time is erasing the running game, and a pitcher could have a 1-5 to home plate, which is relatively slow, and still not give a runner a chance to steal a base. The pitchers must absolutely love him.
Was there a guy, Doug, that you refused to run against? Like, who would the comparable be?
I mean, Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I tried to steal against him in the All-Star game in Puerto Rico, and I didn't even start my slide yet, and the ball was already there. Thought I had a good jump, too.
Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson was the guy that played down here.
Uh-oh, Adam Jones has got one to left. Will it carry? Well, Gomes lost it again. It's gone. That one did carry. He never saw it. Adam Jones has his second home run of the day. Well, it's a helpless feeling when you can't see it. I assume it's made a little better when it lands over the wall as opposed to somewhere near you.
Yeah, you don't have to go and pick it up. But you can see Adam Jones starting to let the ball travel. Ball out over the plate. He gets those long arms extended. Puts the head on the ball. The ball jumps out of the ballpark. That's the thing about Adam Jones. That's the thing. And I think Doug touched on it earlier. We talked about the streakiness of some of these players, some of the veteran players. You see him drive the ball to right center field. That means he let the ball travel. And then you get a pitch out over the plate. He's able to pull it and hit it to the strong side. So those are the things you expect to see from your veteran players. And Adam Jones in the middle of the lineup is going to have to supply a lot of that offensive power.
You saw that we've had 12 runs scored. 3/4 have come thanks to the home run. And I know you baseball players, you always talk about, you can break out of or get into a slump in many ways. I think one of the guys we used to work with would say, plane ride. That's how the slump would go. I'd be on a plane and I would get into a slump or get out of one. Maybe a day with wind will get Adam Jones out of his slump.
Absolutely. That's what it takes. It's all confidence. You don't forget how to hit. And Doug, I know you've lived it. I lived it. You go into slumps and you think about, you go, say, play at a ballpark where the ball travels well, and you think about hitting the ball in the air.
This is hammered to center field. Victorino is looking at it. He's going back. It's gone. Matt Wieters crushed that ball.
And yes, that's a home run to center field, but that is a very good approach to hitting. And Dougie, my point was, you want to see those players stay through the ball, not try to pull the ball to their strong side. That's a line drive up the middle that just happened to get elevated and travel 420 feet. See right here once again, Matt Wieters, ball away, and hits it right back up the box. That's a power V. Boom.
That was pretty. That's another 400+ home run. And you can start to get the feel for why the Orioles are so confident when you have Adam Jones, Matt Wieters, and Chris Davis batting 3, 4, 5. 20 to 30 home run guys, all of them. Last year, the Orioles didn't score a lot of runs. They were 15th in runs scored in the majors, but they were second in home runs. Only the Yankees had more. They had 214 of them.
And once again, the home runs in this game, Adam Jones' first home run, he hits us to right center field, hitting the ball the opposite way. And then you see Matt Wieters hit a home run dead straight center field. That's telling you that these guys are staying on the pitches, and you start to see the confidence start to come. And this is when you want to see it. A week left in spring training. The guys are starting to polish it off, get prepared to go up north and start the season for real. Wish you could take some of those home runs with you, though. I've always had a problem with playing down here in this nice weather and then going up north and playing in 40 and 50 degree weather, maybe 30 degree weather at times. For me, I was a notorious slow starter, and I know, and I think, at least mentally, that weather affected me.
Well, the Orioles won't have to worry about that right off the bat because they will be in Tampa, and they play underneath the roof. Adam Jones, second of the day. Matt Wieters, first. The Orioles have scored 3 runs in the second, and the third, and the fourth. MLB.TV celebrating 11 years. Watch every out-of-market game live. Plus, watch select spring training games online. Visit MLB.TV for details. New pitcher on for the Orioles. A lanky lefty, 6'9", 240-pounder Mark Hendrickson, who's been with Toronto and Tampa Bay and Los Angeles and Florida and now Baltimore. He faces Lyle Overbay. And he's letting the ball go what looks like 4 inches from first base.
Look at this guy, and I think Randy Johnson brings back terrible memories. A little different, not quite the velocity that Randy Johnson had, 84 compared to 96, 98. Probably a little more comfortable. Still, nonetheless, different angle that he comes from. He kind of steps across his body. You can see his setup. He's already closed, and he definitely throws across his body, make it a little tougher to pick up that ball for left-handed hitters. So we're throwing 84, 87 miles an hour. You figure this guy's a left-handed specialist. He's going to have to get Lyle Overbay and some of the left-handed hitters out.
Overbay skies one, and the wind's got this one, blowing it back towards the shortstop. And Machado is underneath it and makes the catch. So 1 man up, 1 man down. We are in the 5th inning of our spring training game between the Orioles and the Red Sox. I'm Carl Ravitch, Barry Larkin, Doug Glanville here. Rick Sutcliffe and Aaron Boone will be in Port St. Lucie tomorrow for the Mets and the Cardinals. And then excited about the Wednesday game on our network when we have the Phillies with Cole Hamels and the Tigers with Justin Verlander on the mound.
That'll be fun.
That should be good.
I would expect there won't be as many runs. At least early in that game.
I don't think we're going to see the 13 hits and 13 runs, 19 hits through 4.
It's amazing how when some guys pitch, the wind always seems to blow in. Verlander's one of those guys.
Yeah, he can change the wind. That'd be interesting if you had Verlander and Hamels on the mound in this game. You don't think it's 940?
I don't think so.
No.
What is spring training, you know? Crazier things have happened in spring training.
Ryan Sweeney would like to get a hit. He struck out, and then a fielder's choice in his second at bat, battling for one of the roster spots on the Red Sox. Buster Olney in his great blog, which we get a chance to read as we wake up every morning, talked about strength of schedule to start a season. Did you put much stock into that? Especially a month. He took the first 2 months.
It really depended on how we were playing out of spring training. I think you get a little momentum at the end of spring training, and then you go into the season and you try to continue that. If we were playing well, then we wouldn't be too terribly concerned who we were facing. Now, if we were struggling in spring training, we certainly would look and go, oh, goodness, why do we have to open with them? The time of the schedule that we really spent the time on was the end of the schedule. Who we were playing at the end of the year, because you knew going into the season who you expected to be there at the end. So it was really the end of the schedule that we looked at.
Doug, Hendrickson's a pretty good target to flip to over there at first.
Yeah, well, no question. Mark Henderson had a very interesting week as the birth of his daughter came on Wednesday. But he was online at the airport flying home, trying to get there for that birth. And he was video chatting, which he recognized wasn't a good idea in public with his wife at the time. And his Wi-Fi said went out, so he finally got on the plane where it was reconnected, and by then the baby was born. So he missed it, but he still was able to spend a couple days with his family and make it back on Saturday.
Be 38 on opening day.
Carl, you talk about the birth of a baby. There's so many things that go into the makeup of a player. People sometimes forget that there are the personal things and the personal lives that are still going on behind the uniform, behind the number, and it's tough juggling all of that stuff. I know I missed a few days with the birth of my children, and it certainly affected me if things were going well.
Good play by Hardy at shortstop on a line drive from Iglesias. And Hendrickson, who's probably very interested in the NCAA tournament, is one of the few that have played in the NBA and the major leagues. heads back to the dugout.
Makes me think of when I was there, you know? I think my first number was 66, I think, and then the next year I was 67, so I was going the other way.
I had number 71. You know, it was almost like I was a left tackle.
First time I got called over, I was number 88, starting wide receiver for the New York Mets.
So guys with the lower numbers kind of go through the motions. Guys with the high numbers kind of get after it.
Clark, you touched on it. When you have a number that starts with a 7, you generally know what the future holds. And Jose De La Torre, who comes in, wears 78. You see his numbers with AA and AAA. He came over from the Indians organization.
Now, that doesn't necessarily apply to pitchers, because pitchers don't have a problem wearing the offensive lineman numbers. But if you're a wideout playing shortstop, or if you're a defensive back playing second base, and you're wearing number 78, that's a problem.
And the exception of this whole conversation, of course, may very well be Jackie Bradley Jr., who wears 74 on his uniform and could break camp with the Red Sox major league team.
We certainly talk highly about this kid, not just his baseball playing ability, but his makeup.
So we'll watch De La Torre deal. First pitch, breaking ball to J.J. Hardy. Hardy's got a nice game going. He's got 2 of the Orioles' 11 hits, both doubles. De La Torre at 90 miles an hour, ahead 0-2. We checked it. Here's your first chance to see Vasquez's arm. Opening week is right around the corner. Make sure to purchase tickets today. You can get the ticket of a lifetime at MLB.com/tickets. Hardy retired on a strikeout. Wilson Betemit is up. You excited about the season? I mean, we appear to have about between 18 and maybe 20 teams who, given the wild card, have a chance. You agree with that?
Absolutely. I remember last year, the excitement last year, and it's all about keeping the fans in the stands. And teams, so many more teams now have that chance to possibly play that play-in wild card game. So absolutely, I think it's great for the game. Gives many more people opportunities later in the season.
Look out. Betemit loses his bat, which heads into the stands, a couple of rows behind the Orioles dugout.
Little out in front. Ooh. Always seems to find a seat when the bat goes hurling into the stands. Thank goodness. Imagine getting squared by a bat, 34-ounce bat, 33-ounce bat, coming at you twirling.
And that bat's a strong one. We've seen it hit a 400-foot home run.
It's not La Flecha, it's the Indian. It's not the arrow, it's the Indian, young man.
Don't blame the equipment.
That's right.
Well, I mean, you're looking at a division as we talk about competitive balance where all 5 teams, because you know the Yankees and their fans would never suggest that they have no chance. That wouldn't be Yankee-like.
Well, the Yankees certainly do have a chance.
Yeah.
You know, but we've seen over the last couple of years, we've seen them go out and, you know, get a couple pieces here and there. Raul Ibanez, Swish, guys that aren't the traditional Yankee guys that came up through the organization.
Well, they've gone completely against it. I mean, Vernon Wells is not.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's an admission to the fact that we haven't really developed those players, and you know, we've got to get some you know, some guys that put some band-aids on some issues that we're having right now. And Vernon Wells is the last guy that they're talking about getting, and you know, he has struggled recently in his career. There was one time where he was one of the better players in the game, but that has gone by the wayside for probably the last 5 years or so. So it'd be interesting to see what Vernon Wells is able to do with the Yankees.
Yeah, and guys, you know, the Yankees are really stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. They're cutting their payroll because they want to meet some financial goals, and they have young players that aren't really ready to step in so that they can be inexpensive. So they're stuck, and of the veteran players that are there, they're older and dealing with injuries. So they're going to need a perfect storm to really be highly competitive this year in terms of being healthy, getting some young guys maybe to play beyond their years, and that's a tough equation in a very tough division.
But on some level, Doug, they're creating that that quote-unquote being stuck, because many people also would argue that saving the money on the luxury tax, they're going to lose in lack of revenue from ticket sales and viewership on their network.
No, it's absolutely their decision, and it was a directive. You know, Brian Cashman, everybody expressed that they are trying to reach a certain threshold, and that choice is going to put them in a very tough bind this season. You know, typically you see the Yankees making those frontline moves in free agency, and they were very quiet, and as a result, they're going to be struggling this year.
2-2 count. We're in the bottom of the 5th with the Orioles leading the Red Sox 9-4. Manny Machado batting 8 for Buck Showalter today. Outside.
You know, continuing on the Yankees, you see with many ball clubs, you look at Manny Machado or you look at some of the younger players throughout the game, you see a lot of infusion of young players that get an opportunity to play, and you sprinkle them in with the veterans. That just, over the last 5 years or so, that just didn't happen with the Yankees. And I think that's also, we have an injury at second base.
Yeah, the runner was going, and down he went, Wilson Betemit, and this is not looking good, as he either rolled an ankle or a knee. And the Orioles training staff will run right out to see what happened. Betemit was moving on the pitch. And big concern now for the Orioles, because he is in a whole lot of pain. That was the 3rd out of the inning. We'll get an update on Betemit from Doug when we come back. But he's down. Orioles 9, Red Sox 4, as we are through 5 innings here in Sarasota. We're back, everyone. We are in Sarasota, Florida. And this telecast of Major League Baseball spring training here on ESPN brought to you by H&R Block. Come see what a difference our tax expertise can make. Kind of a tone-changing moment of the day in the game. Wilson Betemit, the 31-year-old designated hitter of the Orioles, running on a pitch to second base. Seemed to hyperextend his right knee, and there may be a hamstring as well. We'll get an official word from the Orioles when we can, but he has been taken off on a cart. And obviously Buck Showalter out there to attend to him. We'll hear from Buck in just a little while. Tough moment for Betemit and the Orioles. He had homered earlier in the game.
Hate to speculate. Hate to speculate on that. It looks like getting out the box. Looked like he was running pretty well. Possibly a hamstring. Just that last step, just that looked awful. You get veteran players and you go out there and you try to set the tone,
right?
You know, and unfortunate, and the body just breaks down after a certain amount of time.
We'll talk with Buck in the next half inning or so, and Doug Glanville, of course, working on getting an update. For the Orioles on the mound, you see Jim Johnson, who last year got some Cy Young votes, given his 51 saves, his ERA at 2.49. He was about as effective a closer as you can have. And there were a lot of good ones last year, but boy, in one-run games, if you're going to win those, this guy has got to make sure he protects them. And he did that with incredible efficiency.
You're right. And Jim Johnson is not necessarily about the strikeout. It's that heavy, heavy sinker that he throws. And you know, we talked about earlier about the importance of the defense. You know, Matt Wieters, Gold Glove, J.J. Hardy, Adam Jones up the middle, Gold Glove guys. This is the guy that you want in the ball game. You know he's going to. Guys are going to put the ball in play, but it's going to be on play on the ground. They've got to make those plays behind him.
Brock Holt will lead off for Boston. Strikeout in a single. Holt, an infielder for the Red Sox. The start in the minor leagues. On the ground, a second. Roberts, good hop. Holt is thrown out. One man up, one man down as Jim Johnson gets the ground ball. And Holt, Vasquez, and then back to the top with Shane Victorino. Now, I don't know, Barry, when we began to see the change, but over the years there have been some very good bullpens. Now it seems like it's really become a specialty and teams focus on it. The Orioles obviously were really good last year.
Absolutely. I think any team that has any success has some consistency at the back end of the bullpen. It starts with Jim Johnson. He has once again been able to solidify the bullpen and then put guys in position. You got O'Day, who has done a nice job throwing from you know, basically a sidearm specialist, and then Pedro Strop. This guy has an electric arm, but he's able to go out there and be able to fill in and close if he needs to, but kind of just get in position. I remember 1990 when we won the World Series, we had 3 closers, but you had Rob Dibble, and you know, he was the guy that really got the brunt of the work as a closer, and Norm Charlton and Randy Myers as well, 2 lefties and a righty. So important. You play a 6-inning ball game and then leave it up to the bullpen guys.
This one to left center. Adam Jones can't track it down. He cuts it off, but he'll go all the way to the wall with it. So Christian Vasquez having himself a nice day at the plate with a home run and now a double.
Talked about this heavy sinker from Jim Johnson. Well, that's not necessarily the heavy sinker right there. He left that one up over the plate. Christian Vasquez, you're right, having a nice day hitting. Stays right on it, drives the ball to left center field.
Of course, we focus a lot on the relievers, and both of these teams have very good bullpens, but ultimately the starting pitching is going to be so critical. Shane Victorino steps in. One of the things Curt Schilling talks about is which of these staffs, whenever you're talking about comparing divisions and teams, which staff will get the most starts out of their 5 starters. The Orioles were outstanding at that last year.
Once again, I think it's because the Orioles don't have a lot of guys that are strikeout pitchers. They pitch to contact, and when you're pitching to contact, you have a tendency to throw fewer pitches. You don't have to work so much to try to get that strikeout and foul ball and foul ball and foul ball. These guys pitch to contact. They have the good defense behind them. I think all those factors vary into why they were so efficient on the mound.
The Orioles have brought back the pitchers who made 151 of the 162 starts. They also bring back their top 13 pitchers by innings pitched. Their starting staff's going to have Hamill, Wei-Yi Chen, Miguel Gonzalez. Jake Arrieta looks like he's going to be the 5th starter. Victorino slaps one slowly to third. Machado is up with it. Looked like an uninspired swing.
Well, Victorino, you can see he's struggling a little bit, and it certainly wasn't a very good swing. Gonna have to work on that. Got a week left. And you start thinking, as you get older as a player, you start thinking, okay, now I've got to put this together. And the fact that he is a switch hitter, swing from both sides, I expect him to get it together because there's going to be a lot of expectation, a lot of hype for him coming to Boston.
And one thing they're definitely looking at, guys, is his splits. He recognized, he said he hit 317 off of left-handed pitchers and only 230 off of righty. So when you acquire a guy like Johnny Gomes who destroys lefty, you're trying to figure out that balance. And it opens up the door of possibility for someone like Jackie Bradley who can kind of step in there and create that matchup.
Johnny Gomes, did he get it all? Left center field, gone.
Wow.
Second home run of the day for the Red Sox. Johnny Gomes' second hit of the day. And Jim Johnson having a hard time getting that ball down in the zone.
Well, we saw the high sinker, and now we're going to see the high slider. That's a pitch that starts up in the zone and breaks down into the zone. Jim Johnson, when he's pitching well, starts that ball at the bottom of the hitting zone and then catches that ball down around the feet. It's just a hanging breaking ball.
Mike Napoli steps in. Second home run of the spring for Gomes. Napoli's got 2 hits today and then was hit by a pitch. He had 3 hits yesterday, so he's rounding into form. Hard game to play in when it's, 9-6 and you're in the 5th inning of a spring training game in your last week of what has been an extended spring.
No, not necessarily.
Or easier, more enjoyable.
Harder if you give up a couple of home runs, and afterwards certainly it's harder. But
from your position,
no,
shortstop.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know that you're trying. It really depends on where you are. If you're really struggling like a Shane Victorino, you want the at bats. If you're feeling good about yourself, then, you get you a couple of bats in, and you just want to make sure that you're healthy. You worry about things happening like what happened with Wilson Betemit, and hopefully that injury is not too terrible. But that, as a manager and as a player, you just concern yourself with health at this particular time. Just make sure you do all the small things in order to get yourself prepared to start the season.
Broken bat there. Napoli retired. We send it back to our studios in John Shambi. Forward to seeing the game tonight between the Heat and the Orlando Magic to see if it gets to 27. And there are the college basketball teams in the state of Florida that have all advanced to the Sweet 16, including that school in Miami where Barry Larkin's son, of course, plays. Buck Showalter joins us now. Buck, real sorry about what we just saw with Wilson Betemit. What did you learn? What did he say?
Oh, well, Carl, it's sickening. You know, anytime. You know, Wilson's one of the finer young men in the game, and he's in a lot of pain. Not real sure exactly whether we're dealing with a hamstring or a knee. We're just trying to get him off the field and get him up there where we can evaluate him properly. But real kick in the pants. Not for the team necessarily. It is for the team, but you know, just for a young man who means a lot to us.
And I guess it speaks to the sort of fluidity of what you're dealing with right now, whether it be position players or pitchers. Those are the unexpected things that come up that you kind of got all of a sudden now address.
Well, you know, the what ifs happen with every club. You know, nobody's immune to it, and it can happen very quickly. But you know, not really talking about what we're going to do now and this and that, whatever. It's about Wilson Betemit and seeing where he is in a day or so. We're hoping for good news, but that was not pretty.
Buck, what did you make of T.J. McFarland? I know this was a big start for him. What did you glean from the whole performance with the wind and everything else going on?
Well, you don't throw everything out. Just you know, spring training is a great fooler. It's, you know, you don't judge players in the spring or the fall. I haven't looked at the stat sheet all spring, and you can see why we like T.J. You know, it's a very hitter-friendly day. It's kind of like judging college players with aluminum bats the way they used to be. It's, you know, it's a real fooler. We like him. Cleveland likes him, and I'm sure a lot of other clubs like him. So we got to make a decision. You'd love to add a 23-year-old left-hander to your roster, but we'll see where it takes us. He presented himself pretty well today. He got good athleticism, real good aptitude. He made a great play on a comebacker that a lot of left-handers don't make with the back to the runner. It just tells you why we like him. He's a baseball player that happens to be a pitcher instead of a pitcher that's playing baseball.
Now, did Wieters and Davis bunt on their own?
We got those bunts down. That was the time. No, we on their own. No sign there. It's something that everybody works on. You're trying to take advantage of things. You know, it's yet to be seen what will happen during the season, but you know, you take what's given them. I'm sure with the way the wind was blowing out, Boston's pretty happy to see them bunt.
I figured as soon as you saw that shift, you're like, all right, boys, here we go. Let's lay one down here. Why not?
Well, it's something that you know, it's situations. You got to play it situationally, and you know, we want to. The game's played in 90 feet. You know, you hit 30 home runs. You look at what percentage of your at bats those are with 600 plate appearances. It's very minute compared to, you know, the 90 feet. The game's played in 90-foot increments over the course of a long season. So you got to be able to keep people from gaining 90 feet and try to attain them.
Like to get 90, like to get 100-plus games out of the guy at the plate right now. How important is he to what you guys are doing here?
Well, you know, Brian didn't play with us much last year, and we were able to cover it. We're a better team with him, and everything, all the arrows are pointing up right now. He's got a lot of things behind him in his life that were a challenge for him baseball-wise, and he's in a good frame of mind and in a good place with his body, and we're excited about his progress. He's played 3 or 4 days in a row. He's getting ready to do it again, and he's not happy when he's not playing the 5th day. So I like what I'm seeing.
You also like it when people aren't talking about your team. They sort of, look, let us just be. You're pretty comfortable. You got a nice long deal. Is this a little different Orioles structure than we've seen?
Well, I don't know. You know, there were some good things done before I got here. You know, we make a mistake of coming into situations that have struggled and think everything there's wrong. There are a lot of great things going on in Baltimore and our organization and our city, and we're okay if nobody else gets it. We're okay with that. I like knowing about things that nobody else gets, and we got some good city, good people, and you know, it's fun to try to please them.
You certainly do. And do you look at the division like most of us, that this is an open division? It's not just 2 teams anymore?
Well, you know, Carl, I think that's a given going into every year. It's the best case scenario. That's why spring's so much fun, because it's hope springs eternal, and you know, we're focused on our people. You know, if you look at the other 4 teams, it can be daunting looking. You know that the way the schedule shakes out, it's going to be tough for wild cards to come out of our division right now. But a lot can change, and that's why we play the games. Not play with computers and robots and printouts. It's play with human beings, and that's why it's so fun to watch and be a part of it.
Well, listen, good luck to you, and certainly to Wilson Betemit. I hope for the best.
All right, Carl, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, that's Buck Showalter as Brian Roberts grounds out. Certainly has been showtime for Buck, and he continues to show well, especially in year 2 of what he has done as a manager. Mentioned the Yankees and the Diamondbacks. B, you like those right-hand columns when you see the pluses. Now, going from 93 or going from 100 that you can't really go up 24. Not enough games.
No, there aren't. But you heard Buck say it. There were some good things. There was a good foundation there. But Buck has a way of putting his spin on things and really paying attention to detail. And I think that's the thing that I picked up hanging around Buck these last couple of years. It's just listening to him talk, just seeing his vision. And certainly they're feeling that in Baltimore. I feel very good about locking them down for a few years.
But there's a difference. And having known him for so long and obviously working with us, he's always had attention to detail. I think that he will, whether he says it's been fair or unfair, he'll look at himself and say that he does things differently now too. How he accepts criticism, how he communicates with his players as McLeod lines one to left field. There's been an evolvement of Buck Showalter over the years, which has allowed him to be comfortable in his own skin, even more than he was as a very successful manager earlier. We'll be back with the Red Sox and Orioles. Begins March 31st. The Astros, their first American League game. As they switch leagues, they'll take on Adrian Beltre and the Texas Rangers. That's 8 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Opening night baseball. It's presented by Burger King. Rangers Stros. March 31st at 8 on ESPN. You can also watch it live on Watch ESPN. And very excited to get a season started again. Texas may have a little harder time in the American League West with the Angels adding Hamilton and the A's another year, and Seattle is a team that many people believe can be improved dramatically. We'll see. Pedro Strop is now on the mound, so we've gone from Jim Johnson to Pedro Strop, two of the power arms out of the Oriole bullpen, and Strop can hum it up there.
Yeah, he's got an electric arm for sure. His thing is he just has to throw strikes. He's shown the ability to throw that power fastball. But you can time the fastball if you know it's coming. If he can throw his off-speed pitches for a strike early in the count, he'd be incredibly effective.
27-year-older who is from the Dominican Republic, played in the WBC. Will Middlebrooks bats for Boston. Middlebrooks, the third baseman, of course, came in when Kevin Youkilis moved over to first base. And you talk about guys with light tower power. Middlebrooks is one of those. Strop in on his fists.
A lot of reasons to be excited. A lot of reason to be excited in Boston. A lot of players, a lot of guys going to get an opportunity. Brought in some new faces once again. And John Farrell seemed to be very excited about the prospect going into the season with this group that he has.
Will Middlebrooks' third hit of the day. His third single to go with 1 strikeout, so he's on base again here in the top of the 7th inning. We talked a little bit about the Rangers. You like the American League West?
I do.
Yeah.
I do like the American League West.
Worried about the Angel pitching?
You know, Angel pitching, you know, I think offense has a way of really reducing the amount of stress on a pitching staff, and I think they're going to score enough runs to be able to do that. You know, you see improvements in a lot of different ball clubs.
That one is not able to be handled at shortstop, so Drew Sutton, who come on to pinch run, gets into second base. Lyle Overbay is on with what's going to be a single, and Boston's got 2 men on. The American League West, you forget that it was the last day of the regular season where the A's declared themselves champions. How Texas handles the loss of Hamilton and some of the Nolan Ryan stuff going on. The Angels lineup is cartoon-like crazy. King Felix is locked up for years to come, and Houston has now got a new look and a new league. Johnny Gomes, of course, played with the A's and talks about the character of that clubhouse and that they have young pitchers. You know, Griffin and Straley were pitching in a postseason last year, and they didn't pitch in the early part of the season, and they handled it with such kind of maturity.
Well, there's some really good arms in Oakland. Look at Seattle. Seattle has improved
dramatically.
As a ball club. Absolutely.
Offensively, they'll score runs this year. Ryan Sweeney pulls that one foul. They brought the fences in, but they also brought some new players in, and Kendrys Morales.
Might be a struggle for the Houston Astros in the American League this year.
I think that's going to be fact. I think that'll be a fact. Yeah, I mean, you were possibly looking at a couple of teams who could be historically bad as far as win-loss record because of where they are in their development relative to the other teams in their own division. I think a lot of people are worried about the Mets this year, given the top-heavy NL East with Washington and Atlanta.
Well, I think they'll be competitive, and the style of play will be the same. So I don't think that is an area of concern. You know, they've struggled the last couple of years with injuries and, you know, inconsistency from some of the players. But going to a new league in the American League and the American League East, the American League West, that is, you know, there's a reason why the American League had dominated for a while in the All-Star game. It's because the players were better. And I think eventually when you go and you take a ball club and you move them to the American League, you've got a different style of play. I mean, that DH, that cannot be talked about enough. You know, you need to have your ball club constructed so that you have 9 offensive players out there. And in a traditional National League city, that just is not the case. So making that transition, I think, is something to really keep our eye on. Now, this team, we talked about a Houston Astro team that really struggled in the National League Central. Now you're playing with some big boys out in the American League West, and you don't get a day off. You don't get a hitter off. You're not going to have a pitcher come up there and you know, be able to take a breath. You know, that's different. That's a different mentality.
It certainly is, and given that they just struggled so badly in the National League. Ryan Sweeney fouled a few balls off, got good wood on this one, but it stays inside the park. Sweeney is retired. Sutton advances to third base. And now you get a chance to see Mike Karp, another player that the Red Sox have to make a decision on. He's moved into left field. And Jackie Bradley Jr. is moved into the on-deck circle. Karp slaps one down the line in left. It is going to get down in fair territory. Sutton's going to score, being held at third base. It's Overbay, and Karp is into second with a double. That's the way to make an impression.
Well, this is the ball up, out, over the plate. Nice job, not necessarily elevated, but out where you can get your arms extended. Nice job of staying inside that ball and hitting it down the left field line.
And now the man who has really been the story of the spring for the Red Sox, Jackie Bradley Jr. Played college ball, went to the College World Series with the Gamecocks of South Carolina. His numbers are eye-popping. Swings and misses at that stroke pitch. Hitting over 400. He's got a couple of home runs, 9 runs batted in. Everyone talks about his approach. What does that mean, Bear?
It just talks about how polished he is. You know, you don't see him go from that aluminum bat to the wood bat. You see guys changing their swing a little bit. With that aluminum bat, you're able to have a little longer swing. Well, he's got a very short swing. You saw that reflected in his numbers, 423 with 2 homers and 9 ribby, 22 hits this spring. But just not, not playing up into the situation, just kind of going at it. This kid is just out of college. You know, last year he had a couple of bats, or 315 at bats, or hit 315 between single and double A last year. You know, he had 9 homers and 63 ribbies, and when he got on base, he could steal bases as well, 24 stolen bases. So this guy doesn't strike out a lot. He walks. He gives you good competitive at bats, and I think that's what's so impressive. Such a young player.
He talked, Doug, about having a 2-strike approach and not being afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He did say you have to have 2 strikes, which he does right now.
Absolutely, and he just has that poise, knowing that 2 strikes does not necessarily mean you're out of the hole. You can't get out of that hole, and he finds ways to battle even when he's behind in the count to put good at bats. There's no question that the discussion about Jackie Bradley Jr. a lot to do with his makeup, his poise, his approach. He's also an off-the-charts defensive player, getting tremendous jumps. So he's a thinker. He's always ahead of the game, and when you have 2 strikes, that's exactly how you have to have a plan. That's how you plan, and he gets out of those situations with authority.
Back up the middle, and the legend of Jackie Bradley Jr. continues to grow as he drives in 2 with a single up the middle.
Talk about that 2-stroke approach, polished approach. A great swing. You know what? Pedro Strop is trying to work him inside. You see him keep his hands inside of that inside pitch. Hit the ball hard back up the middle. Not much of a stride. Just stays there behind the ball. Lets it travel. Hits it right back from where it came. Good approach.
And the whole debate about Bradley Jr. is not being on the 40-man roster. If the Red Sox start him on the major league team, he then will have his free agent year move up by a year. If they wait 11 days, then they can extend the control they have over him as a player. But I know you and I kind of came away from our conversation with John Farrell a little differently. And again, this hit, to me, it seems almost impossible, understanding all the financial considerations, not to kind of ride, assuming this continues for 3 or more days, to ride it. Like, let's try to take advantage of it.
Well, he certainly has shown himself very well in spring training. But unfortunately, there's a business side to the game as well that rears its ugly head at times. And sometimes guys just don't get that opportunity because of some of the financial ramifications. You talked about 11 days. Those 11 days mean hundreds of thousands of dollars and at times millions of dollars. So unfortunately, that's part of the equation as well.
But on the non-financial side, this spring training means a lot to players like Jackie Bradley Jr. in part because the coaches are putting him in positions, in different types of positions, where when he excels, it shows he is capable. Today you see him come off the bench, get the big hit. You've seen him start and dominate, get a home run off of Cliff Lee. He's done a lot of different parts, and as they get ready for camp, they're going to put him in these situations to see, can you handle pinch hitting? Can you handle coming in a double switch? And so far, he's excelled admirably.
Yesterday, a home run off Cliff Lee. Here, a clutch 2-strike single off Pedro Strop. Daniel Nava, who's had a very good spring as well. The other consideration is, where does he play? I mean, one thing that John Farrell said was every day at bats, and that means at the major league level, will he be able to play every day?
Yeah, and that's the one thing you don't want to see. You don't want to see a young prospect get a chance to go to the big leagues and go up there and sit. That's the one thing you can't you know, you can't accept or you don't want to see. You want this kid to continue. This is an everyday player. He needs to play every single day to realize his true potential. And so that's always in the equation as well as the financial ramifications. It's also about giving him an opportunity to play every single day.
Nava on the ground, well picked over there at first base. High throw handled by Hardy. No double play.
That was an excellent pick at first base by Chris Davis. There's something to be said about playing the ball as opposed to letting the ball play you. You see how he attacks the ground ball, comes up, makes a high throw, J.J. Hardy. But this is one of the reasons why this team is so successful. It's because they're able to come up with plays like this. That's a nice play by Chris Davis at first base.
Strope did a good job to get over to cover. No double play. Bradley retired on the force. Nava at first. And Xander Bogaerts is now batting for the Red Sox.
Another prospect in their organization. He also was on the WBC for the Netherlands.
Maybe the highest rated prospect they have. He's a shortstop.
And a bigger shortstop. You can see the numbers, 15 home runs, 64 ribbies. So he's got some pop in that bat. And you look at a guy and you say, how can this big kid play shortstop? Well, it's all about his feet and his ability to manipulate his body by moving his feet. He's got great feet. So he can play that shortstop position until that body gets too big and those feet slow down.
On the corner called strike 3. Strope retires Bogaerts. But the legend of Jackie Bradley Jr. and the debate will rage on in Boston. Comes up with a clutch hit to tie it at 9. This telecast of MLB Spring Training on ESPN is presented by Head and Shoulders. We are in Sarasota, Florida on a beautiful day for baseball. Final week of spring training. It's been an extra long spring training with the World Baseball Classic, and the Orioles and Red Sox, like the 28 other teams, just about set to get the regular season rolling. Jackie Bradley Jr. is now moved into center field. And I left that conversation. Now, managers and general managers and owners have different perspectives. If the manager thinks, you know, that this guy is going to help me win the first week of the regular season, he'll want him on the team.
No doubt about it.
The GM and the owner may say, I understand that, but how bad can things go in 11 days? You know, that's not when the race is going to be decided. But
You can't
I'm of
win.
the mind he's going to be on the team.
You can't win in the first 11 days of the season, but you certainly could put yourself in position not to win in the first 11 days of the season.
I hear that. And as we talk about the importance of the players on the roster, certainly critical for the Orioles to have Brian Roberts playing, and he's with Doug.
Thanks, Carl. I'm here with Brian Roberts. So Brian, obviously new camp, but the difference is after 12 major league seasons with Baltimore, this is the first spring you're coming in, a winning season. So what's the difference? What do you feel differently?
Well, it's obviously a great atmosphere. You know, certainly coming off of a lot of years that we wish it would have been better. Last year was such an incredible time for our organization and our city and our fans, and obviously the 25 guys on our roster. So we're excited about what's going on, and we're looking forward to this year.
Well, it seemed like last year you were looking for that leadoff hitter, and obviously that's your role. What did you see by the collective effort by your teammates to make it happen?
I think the first half was a little bit of a struggle, and then some guys came in. Markakis started to lead off and did a great job, and obviously then Nate McLeod when Nick got hurt. So we have plenty of guys that are capable, but we just need to try and stay healthy, get guys in their regular spots and do our things, and give the guys in the middle of our order some guys to drive in.
Well, speaking of capability, we were talking earlier before the game about the young players coming up. Who's impressed you the most about the next stage as you've moved into that veteran presence?
I think there's a handful of guys. You know, Manny Machado obviously has already been in the big leagues, and at 19 or 20 years old, that just kind of blows my mind to be able to come up here and play that maturely and do the things that he's done. And then coming out of the last couple drafts, we have Kevin Gausman, who's thrown the ball great this spring and really opened up a lot of eyes. And then Dylan Bundy certainly is a very young kid, but throws the ball extremely well and has already been in the big leagues also. So we have some really good things on the horizon, and we're looking forward to it.
So how's the health? How are you feeling now? You're starting to play a bunch of games in a row now. Looks like you're back to form. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, it's no fun sitting on the sidelines, as you know, and it's part of this game, unfortunately, at times, is being injured. But the last 2 years have been pretty tough, and I'm excited to get back on the field and feel healthy and try to contribute and help us get back to where we want to be.
Absolutely. All right, Brian, thanks for your time, man. Good luck.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, Carl.
All right, Dougie, thank you very much. And preliminary reports say that Wilson Betemit has a sprained knee ligament. So we'll see if it requires further diagnosis, but a terrible injury to Wilson Betemit. He'll be evaluated again tomorrow. Wieters on the ground, fielded cleanly, chance for two. No. Celestino was over there covering, and the throw from Bogarts got away from him. So one more time, what is being called a right knee ligament sprain for Wilson Betemit.
You can see Wilson get out of the box pretty well. It just looks like he just lost his balance almost, maybe. And once again, this is the time of season. You can see right there, look like the hyperextension. But this is the time of spring, especially as a veteran ball player. You saw him hit the ball pretty well. And you think about, okay, let me just be healthy going up and to start the season. Incredibly frustrating injury.
Chris Davis hammers that one back up the middle. Rounding second, heading to third. They'll test the arm of Bradley. Good strong throw, but just offline. Chris Davis, third hit of the game. He'll likely be pinch run for as well. As the substitutes and the bench players start to file in the game. Miguel Celestino is the pitcher for the Red Sox right now. J.J. Hardy bats. You heard Doug interviewing Brian talking about Dylan Bundy and Gausman, the other young pitcher. There are some who believe that Gausman is ahead of Bundy, and we've heard so much about Dylan Bundy.
Well, we did hear about Bundy, but Buck Showalter was gleaming when he was speaking about Gausman, talking about 95 to 100 miles an hour with movement. And he was just at LSU last year. So,
and others who have seen him say it's not even close. And that's not a knock on Bundy. That Gausman's just that much better. How about a J.J. Hardy tomahawk chop, 3-run home run? His third hit of the day. So the Orioles, including Adam Jones, have a number of players with 3 hits.
Once again, J.J. Hardy, another guy that, with the help of Brian Roberts and some of the other guys, can move down in the batter's lineup. And you can see what he likes to do. He likes to elevate the ball. Not really a get-on-base guy, but a power guy and a power shortstop. Pitch up in the zone, really high. He was able to get on top of it, get it out of the ballpark.
The Orioles are playing long ball today. 12 runs on 14 hits and 5 home runs. Lou Ford to left field, dropping quickly, and it is going to drop in for a single. Step right up and take your hacks. Manny Machado is going to be the next man.
This is the day that you want to have the bat in your hand. Come out early, you see the flag blowing out. Pitcher's throwing the ball up in the zone. That's a good recipe.
Green light.
Absolutely.
And both of these teams were considerate of who they were playing. That's why tomorrow the Red Sox will have John Lester on the mound and face a division foe. This late, you don't really want to show your pitching hand if you can help it.
Absolutely not.
Which is why in that Tigers-Phillies game on Wednesday, Verlander and Hamels,
they'll see each other in interleague play and
go get them.
Yeah.
Not a division rival, right. Not a league rival. Off speed pitch to Machado. He looks at it. 1-1. So we've heard different theories. What do you think is the, and I get that good talent is most important, but what are the keys to success? You won World Series with the Reds there in '90. What do you need?
You need pitching.
Pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely need pitching. If you don't have pitching, you will not win. Good pitching beats good hitting at all time, and that was a nice one right there. Double play.
We're seeing a lot of good hitting today, including long ball. J.J. Hardy, head down and run. He knew it. 5 bombs for the Orioles. They lead 12-9. This telecast of Major League Baseball spring training on ESPN is presented by Head & Shoulders for Men. Live flake-free. We go to the 8th inning of a 9-6 game. We sent down to Doug Randall. Dougie.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Adam Jones. So I would say a breakout game for spring training. I know You talked about not putting a lot of weight on spring training, but 2 home runs. What was today? What was the takeaway?
Oh, just, getting the whole swing intact. It was a real high for the WBC, then come back a few days, and, the adrenaline's worn off, and got back to work of, what we're supposed to do in spring training, working on just getting the barrel on the ball. And today, it was obviously the best day I've had all spring training, but, it's spring training, so I'm taking it for what it is, and got to get back to the drawing board tomorrow.
Well, we talked earlier last season about the teams that approach you are looking to not get beat by you. You're sort of the guy in the lineup that they're looking out for. What have you gained from that in terms of how you've improved your game?
Well, let the guys behind me. Let Wieters, who's well capable of driving the ball, CD, well capable of driving the ball, and Hardy, if it trickles on down to Reimold, and the ninth hitter in our lineup. I don't know who that's going to be, but he's going to have some pop and be able to drive the ball. So just coming in knowing that I don't need to be the guy. It's if I'm on base, I can score on a double, I can steal a bag. So that's just basically where I have to start.
So you're finding yourself now as in this leadership role. What are you taking to the younger players with your experience?
Well, I'm trying to bring back that old school mentality. I had Arthur Rhodes and Jose Guillen around me. And, those kind of guys were always with the true veterans of doing it the right way. They'd get on me. And ask Machado, all the younger guys, I'd get on them because, I guess that's what he said. There's only one way to be taught. And the way I was taught was, I guess, the right way. I don't know if it's the right way, but it was the only way I know. So I just kind of, try to take on the leadership role in a smart way, but let them know, look, certain things aren't acceptable. And if you want to play on this team or even in the major leagues, there's a lot of things that you have to do right.
And do you think that's part of what you feel will take this team to the next level? What do you see for 2013?
What I see for 2013 for this team is similar to last year. One thing we did day in and day out is competed. The records, one loss, in the one-run games and the extra innings, obviously those were, anomalies. I don't think anybody can duplicate that again. But one thing we're going to duplicate is the way we approach this game, and we're going to show up every day ready to play. Win, lose, or draw, we're going to show up.
What do you feel about Buck Showalter in terms of his style? How does he allow that to come out?
Well, Buck's a lot different than he was in the 90s, I guess. I talked to a few guys. They said he lets you guys hit in shorts, lets you hit without a hat, and he does. Yeah, I think he's just finally understanding, I guess the modern day is let the players enjoy themselves. And he's been a player's manager ever since I've been over here. So we all feed off of him, and we just be ourselves, and that's all he asks. Just show up ready to play and go home.
All right, Adam, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Good luck, too. Keep rolling. All right, Carl.
Thank you, Doug. And got a shot of Buck Showalter, and on this field here is the number 4 for the late Earl Weaver. The Orioles, between Earl and Cal Ripken Sr., they've been identified as much for their managers and the sort of Oriole way as they have been the players on the field. And obviously Cal Jr. stands out. Moro Gomez, he hits one deep to left field. The wind has actually died a little bit, and the ball does too. It stays in the ballpark. But back to the Orioles, Lark, for a lot of years, that was how they were identified. Not necessarily the players on the field.
Well, I tell you, it's very evident as far as the respect that some of the players have for Buck Showalter, and certainly some of the players in the past. And the Oriole brand of baseball is traditionally a very clean brand of baseball. Cal Ripken being the face of the organization for many years, and it's just carried on. And I think Buck is probably the most recognized person on this team, and I think they like it that way. Certainly you have individual players that do well, but you don't see much stuff happening with these players other than them showing up and going to work, and I think that's a great thing, one thing that's respected.
The Eddie Murrays, the Hall of Famers of the world, the Paul Blairs. There were certain names that you kind of resonate, but Earl Weaver was the guy.
Yep.
And then Cal's dad was the guy. And now, given the years extension that both Buck and Dan Duquette got, they're going to be the men for a while. That's an interesting dynamic, too. Dan Duquette and Buck would not necessarily be, given their personalities, two people you'd think would be hanging out having a burger together. But
this is true. But you just heard Adam Jones talk about it. Buck gives the players the latitude to do the things that they want to do. He's been a players manager for as long as he's been over in this organization. It's been a while, and a lot of respect given, a lot of respect required. But Buck has certainly changed over the years. You go back to some of the early days and the Buckisms that were reported to have happened, and he didn't put up with a lot of stuff. But now it seems like he certainly has changed and has adapted to the style of the modern day ball player, and it's a great combination in Baltimore.
I would think that on some level early on in anybody's career, you're trying to show that my way will work. And until it's kind of proven, and until the players, in this case baseball field, buy it, it's hard for you to accept that there's another way to do it, meaning the players will have their own kind of say in, you know what, it can work your way, but it can also work our way. Let's try to get to a happy medium, and that process takes a few years. And for Buck, I think, as Adam says, look, we're good players. Let us have a little bit of rope, and we'll hold on to yours as well, and it can really work well.
I think you're right on that. But you know what, Buck went to a situation where a lot of positive stuff was happening, and when you have players like Adam Jones and Brian Roberts, Matt Wieters, J.J. Hardy, when you have players that have had some success, you don't have to say much as a manager. You have to let those guys go. Adam Jones talked about getting on the young players, the old school approach. Hey, if I'm a manager and one of my star players is going to implement the old school approach, I'm not saying a word other than go get them, Tiger. And that's really it.
But the ridiculous stuff with Buck was he'd leave the Diamondbacks and the Yankees. They'd win World Series after he had done all the legwork to help get him there.
Well, he had to build the foundation, and he certainly did that in a couple of different places. Here, like he said earlier today, the foundation was there. He had to make a few changes, put his spin on things here and there.
Well, the thing that's fascinating about Buck is that he has this balance. I mean, he could be the field general where he'd have a map of the world and pinpoints for every team that you're supposed to take over. And he'd work at that type of approach. And then on the flip side, he had this relaxed, comedy environment where he kept everybody loose and told great jokes, had great stories. And it's just sort of now worked and gelled really well for him, where young and older players are sort of buying in. And he seems very relaxed and just right on top of his game. And when you have a whole team buying in, you're just going to have a lot of success.
And Doug, of course, shared a year with Buck when he was with the Rangers. Overbay chases an O'Day drifter up in the zone. He's retired. Bottom of the 8th here in Sarasota with the Orioles up by 3. I want to remind everyone to log on to ESPN.com and search BBTN 500 from March 20th through the 28th. So a couple of days left to do that as we unveil Baseball Tonight's ranking of the top 500 players for 2013. We'll reveal the top 10 players on Baseball Tonight Thursday at 10 p.m. So the top 500, and we'll reveal the top 10. Pitching the bottom of the 8th for Boston, Christopher Martin.
What do you take into consideration when you talk about the top 10 players? Now, that certainly is going to include a few pitchers here and there, no?
Well, it depends, as you just said, what you take into consideration.
I mean, Verlander has to be one of your top 10 players, does he not?
It's the age-old argument. If you're asking me, no.
Really?
No. I mean, I think he is, but for the purpose of, if somebody's telling me the top 500 players, I think you just take the position players.
Yeah. I think that it should be it should either include or not include pitchers.
This does. I mean, this does include.
So if it
pitchers.
Does, then he's
if it
got
does,
to be.
Oh, he is. And Kershaw's probably in the top 10 too.
King Felix. Now that's 3 pitchers.
Yeah.
So you've got 7 position players.
That's about right. I mean, we kind of talked about Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout, Ryan Braun, Andrew McCutchen, one of the 7.
Wow. Pujols? Is Pujols there?
Is
it based on a body of work or just
no? This is just who's the top. Who are the top 10 players in baseball this year? You put Bryce Harper ahead of Albert Pujols.
Wow. It's a tough one. I'm about to refer to Jay Hay.
Buster Posey's on that list.
I'd like to see Justin Haven's list. That's who I'd like to see. Research extraordinaire.
On the ground, swallowed up at first base. And let's quickly get it back to John Shambi and the Big Shill.
Ravi, thanks very much. Here in studio, some news from around Major League Baseball. Reportedly,
John and Barry, one of the things you know about the Brewers is they can score. That's for sure. And when you look at the Loesch rankings and whatnot, $11 million it appears guaranteed as a base salary for 3 years. Move some of the young pitchers off the glove of Bogarts at shortstop. And no play at first base. But it moves some of the younger pitchers back to the end of the rotation and some into the bullpen. But behind Gallardo, you add Kyle Loesch. I think it puts the Brewers right into the conversation for a team in the National League that can compete for a wild card, if not a division, with the Reds and the Cardinals.
Well, you asked the question earlier, what do you have to have in order to be competitive?
Yeah.
You have to have pitching. Kyle Loesch is one of those guys. When you look at him, he's not going to, on paper, he's not going to blow you away. He doesn't have that high 90 stuff, but he has a chance every single game. He is a pitcher, quintessential pitcher. He knows how to throw the ball. He knows how to get a ground ball in ground ball situations. He's just a very good pitcher. He's pitched well and deep into ball games simply because not only can he pitch, he can field his position as well. He can handle the bat. Also, he's a complete pitcher.
Well, if that's the case, it does beg the question, why weren't more teams that need starting pitching interested? Why did it take this long, and why was it the Brewers?
I can't answer that question. Talk about Michael Bourne. Why was he a free agent for so long? Why did it take so long to sign a guy like that? I don't know why those type of things happen.
Well, not that that's the reason, but they both share the same representation. I mean, Scott Boras was both of those guys' agents.
All right, but sometimes I'm sure it has something to do with the amount of money that is being asked, by the player. So you got to fit in somewhere. A lot of factors. We could go on forever. I don't think we have time for that today.
But it does change the perception of the Brewers, and even Corey Hart was quoted as saying, you always love to get a big lift as spring training ends, and what a great lift that is for them.
Absolutely.
2 outs. What may be the final at bat for the Orioles today? That's an interesting division, the National League Central. We'll see the Cardinals tomorrow against the Mets, and they get some concerns, some yellow flags around Beltran and David Freese. The Reds with Aroldis Chapman moving back into the bullpen. This one is laced, and it's going to get down to the gap. Jackie Bradley Jr. cuts it off, throws back in. Slipping on his way to second base, and thrown out there is Alexi Casilla. The good news for the Orioles is that that's the same spot where we saw Wilson Betemit go down with an injury. So grateful that he's okay. Bradley's cut off and the subsequent throw to second ends the 8th inning. ESPN Fantasy Baseball is back on ESPN.com. Access real-time scoring, gain expert advice, manage your team, and do it all on the go from your mobile phone. Sign up today for free before the season is here at ESPN.com/fantasy baseball. We move to the 9th inning of this one. Jonathan Diaz bats for the Red Sox, as the Orioles have used home runs and really good days for them. Adam Jones 3 hits, Chris Davis had 3 hits, Hardy had a big day at the plate. Some concern about the injury to Wilson Betemit, but again, at least initially looking at a sprained knee ligament, and he'll be evaluated more tomorrow. TJ McFarland, the starter, who is very much in the conversation for making the Orioles roster, got hit around. The numbers weren't very good, but this was a difficult day to pitch, given we've had 32 hits and 21 runs scored. As we hit the top of the hour, remind everyone NFL Live follows us 3 outs away from that. Busy sports day, recovering from the college basketball weekend. There's a strikeout. Looking forward to the Miami Heat tonight. They're in Orlando. In Orlando is where Tiger Woods was victorious again today at the Bay Hill Invitational, the Arnie Palmer Invitational. He's now again the #1 ranked player in the world, and he has won 8 times, tying Sam Snead for the same event. He's rolling like the Miami Hurricanes of Shane Larkin. That's how he's rolling right now.
Let's not wake up from this dream. Let's keep it going a little while longer. 4 more games, I believe it is. Can't tell you how fun it is to sit courtside.
You know
watch.
what? I bet you can't. I don't. You probably can't. I don't think anybody could describe it right now.
It really is tough to put it in words.
It's an out-of-body experience you and the family are dealing with. Yeah, they'll be in Washington, and again, 3 teams. Florida Gulf Coast is, with all due respect to the Canes, that's been that's been the highlight team. Carp hits it hard on the ground to second base. 2 men down. So that is for the end of the week. We have baseball between now and then, and really looking forward to the Mets and Cardinals tomorrow, and then a Verlander-Hamels matchup on Wednesday for the Phillies and the Tigers. And a game on Thursday, and we look forward to the basketball Thursday night, and then the opener of the Major League Baseball season Sunday night. Fitting that Jackie Bradley Jr. gets another chance. He delivered for the Red Sox in his previous at bat. 2 men on. He delivered a single up the middle. His average up in the high 420s right now. Swings and misses at that one. Bradley is a movie buff. He has been to just about every single movie that you can name. And he told me also earlier today he's a bowler. And I said 300 games. He said 249 is his high. Whoa. 249. He likes the bowling and the movies. You a bowler? I grew up with candle pins. I grew up with those little balls and the little thin bowling pins. As Bradley Jr.'s going to have another hit. Extra bases. He's going to third base. Jackie Bradley Jr. cannot be stopped.
Somewhat impressive. Lefty on lefty. Wow. Talked about a polished player in a short, compact swing. This is not easy. Lefty off lefty. You see the breaking ball. Stays inside the ball. Drives it to right field. And then the ability to pick him up and put him down. Center fielder. We saw the strong arm earlier. You can see the speed. Stand up triple.
A single to drive in 2 and a triple for Jackie Bradley Jr. You can hear talk radio in Boston saying, really? Really? He's not going to be on the opening day roster against CC Sabathia and the Yankees? Really?
Look at those numbers. Outstanding spring training.
It'd be very easy for the Red Sox to say, look, he has to. He's proved it. We can't keep him down. That'd be easy. That'd be a nice celebration. Hey, look, man, you earned it.
You get drafted, you have options, and that always comes into the equation. It's so many pieces to that puzzle, jigsaw puzzle.
Think back, how many of those wearing 74s have hit 444 for an entire spring? And to John Farrell's point, demonstrated all the other intangibles, not just a gaudy batting average.
Right. Well, the biggest thing, once again, that John spoke about is finding him at bats, getting him up there, and letting him play. And if you can't do that, then you can't have him at that big league level, because you don't want a guy of his talent going up there and sitting. If you make a decision, if you commit to him, you have to commit to him. You have to let him play.
Yep. Well, there's some veterans who he's clearly outplayed. 2-2, 2-out pitch, swing and a miss, and this one is over. The Orioles have won it by a score of 12-9, and Jackie Bradley Jr. walks back to his dugout, having once again served notice that he is ready for the major leagues. Orioles win at 5 home runs on the day for them. Spring training continues Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Mets and Cardinals. That's on ESPN. This is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, with Barry Larkin and Doug Glanville. I'm Carl Ravitch. So long from Sarasota.